All right. Let's see. That was weird. Shoot out the links again to the homies. All right, cool. So it looks like we are working. All right. Let's get the links out to the homeboys. We get the crew back in here. Do. It's all Drew's fault. See if Chris wants to come out. Okay. All right. Okay. Boom, here's Drew. Yay.
Are we on?
We're on. It's working.
All right. Yeah. Times. Good times.
Hockey is not here yet. Here's Odin. Eric Grant, thanks for tuning back in, guys. We had a new viewer. I'm kind of bummed that we had that snafu, you know?
Yeah.
So we sent it out. Let's do. And where's that at? So Drew, I'm sorry, man. You started talking, and then it was like,
yeah,
you just blew up the stream. So what were you talking about?
Yeah. So basically, like the whole point of buying the Xbox One S was really, and the same reason the reason I bought the PS4 or PS3 originally was the Blu-ray player, and so the problem is that Xbox or Microsoft put a software Blu-ray player, 4K Blu-ray player on the system that is trash. It is hot trash. I think they did one revision of the software and said that's good enough, and they left it there, and they never did any kind of updates to it or anything. And so the problem is, I was super pumped because I got the Lord of the Rings 4K, which is my favorite film by far, Fellowship of the Ring. And I'm not going to sit here and say it's the best movie ever made. It's just personally my favorite film. So anyway, so I'm playing it. I got friends over. I got family over. On my birthday. People are coming over to watch Fellowship of the Ring in 4K. So we put it on, and like 5 minutes into it, static across the screen, and it's screeching at me, and it's like, what the hell is going on here? And it does not like to play discs. Sometimes it just has a fit. So I said, fine, F it. And so we watched it on Blu-ray at that time. But over the past month or so, I said, you know what? My wife's like, what do you want for your birthday or Christmas? I'm like, you know what? I want a dedicated Blu-ray player, like a real one. And usually they're like $200, $300. They're pretty expensive still. And but we found a good deal on one, and it's a Sony, and it's flawless. It plays things perfectly, and I'm like in heaven because I'm like watching these movies again for the first time because I like to just study everything that I see on the screen. And so if you've watched them like streaming 4K versus like physical media 4K, it's a huge difference. It truly is a significant difference because the amount of data that's being processed and put on the screen is at least twice, sometimes even 3 times with a physical player rather than it is a stream coming down, because they throttle those streams because they're streaming services. And anyway, so I don't know. Do you guys have Paramount Plus?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. Have you watched The Offer?
Sometimes.
No, I heard it was very good.
Okay, so The Offer, for those who don't know, is it's a mini series. It's 12 issues. Yeah, it's 12 episodes long, and I'm pretty sure it's 12. Anyway, it's about the making of The Godfather. Okay, now I've never been a giant gangster movie fan. I'm not really into that genre personally, and it's funny how your perspective changes when you get older when you're watching things. Because I'd seen The Godfather when I was like a teenager, late teens, and it just did not hit me right. And all I was thinking about, I'm sitting there judging the Corleones, talking about, or Corleones talking about how they're making bad decisions and they deserve what they get, blah 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 blah. And I've got this hyper moralistic viewpoint of the film, right? And so it's like you get older and you get more wise to the ways of the world. And you can see things in a much more sympathetic manner. I said, I need to watch this again to see how this plays. But watching The Offer was just like, oh my god, I cannot believe this is what they went through making this film. It's a true story, and I'm sure that there's some dramatic license, but the overall major points about the mafia trying to keep them from making it, and about Paramount not wanting to let them shoot it in New York, wanting them to make it a period piece, or they wanted to make it modern and based in St. Louis. And it's like what the hell? And so anyway, so this producer who was like a young producer, Albert Ruddy, is fighting tooth and nail to get this movie made. And they didn't want Al Pacino because they thought he was too small and squirrely looking, and they didn't want Marlon Brando because he was a liability. And so and they didn't want Coppola directing it, but nobody wanted to make the movie. And it's like the only way they could make it successfully was to get an Italian like Coppola to do it. But he was like doing American Zoetrope with Lucas and all these guys, and they're like going, we're not making commercial films, this is BS. And so George Lucas said, just Francis, just go make it, take the money and just make it, and then we can go back to making what we want. And so he said fine. so Ruddy just was like going to the mattresses, no pun intended, to get this movie made. And everyone looks at it now as like one of the greatest films ever made, and they didn't realize it at the time when they were making it, how close it came to never seeing the light of day. So anyway, so my wife had never seen The Godfather, and
Aldous.
I'm sorry, what?
I was saying hello to Aldous.
Oh, hi Aldous. Yeah, that's a good.
The Godfather is a wholesome family film about the insidious nature of their olive oil business competitors.
That's exactly right. So anyway, so my wife, who's a bit younger than I am, had never seen it, and my sister-in-law had never seen it, nor her boyfriend. So it's like, you know what? Let's for New Year's Eve, let's do this. We'll make a big Italian dinner, and then we'll watch The Godfather in 4K for the first time. And
sounds like fun.
It was fun. And my sister-in-law is boring. She's not boring. She gets bored very easily. She's a TikTok addict. So but I'm watching The Godfather, and I have a newfound appreciation for it, and because now I'm looking at it not from a perspective of who's right and who's wrong, but just from how is Michael Corleone viewing these things. It's Corleone, right? It's not Corleone, it's Corleone, right?
Corleone.
Yeah, I thought that E was silent.
Yeah, so because I'm looking at it from, because you write a comic book, right? You're writing a story, you're trying to develop a story, you're trying to write in the voice of your characters. And now I'm looking at the film like Michael Corleone is a real person, and he's a character, and how does this character's motivations mesh with the events that are going on around him. So, but aside from that, one of the really amazing things about this film, just from a perspective of how movies are made these days, like there is zero exposition in The Godfather.
Great.
It's amazing. You have to just watch the film and pay the attention to what's going on.
Yeah.
And I mean, because in today's movies, you'll have an action sequence, or you'll have some characters doing something, and then they'll stop for like 5 minutes and talk it over, and one character will fill in for the audience what just happened, and then the other character will explain everything to that character so everybody can understand what's going on. The Godfather is like, you're gonna have to put your adult pants on and watch this and pay attention.
Decipher a little bit, yeah.
Like a real movie.
Another thing is that, you know, movies these days, it's like New York City 1970, or my favorite pet peeve with comics, then and then now, and things like that piss me off. In The Godfather, there's nothing of the sort. The only way that you know time has passed is they go from one scene to the next scene and they have a 3-year-old kid now.
Yeah,
you know,
maybe look a little older, or they have a kid.
Yeah, and it's like boom, they got they have a 5-year-old, and
Mustache.
it's like they don't even tell you that it's now 5 years in the future. That is your only cue that time has passed. And there's a lot of subtle transitions in the film like that. And no, it was a blast, and it looks effing amazing. Oh my god. If you have a 4K player and you are interested in movies like this, like that, just you're huge fans of them, definitely cannot recommend it enough. Lord of the Rings looks effing amazing. It's like I can reach into the window of the screen and high five Gandalf. I mean, it's just out of control.
Right.
And The Godfather looks phenomenal. So next up on my Amazon buy list or wish list is Citizen K Criterion, or Citizen Kane Criterion collection.
Yeah,
I said
I like
Citizen K because
K also.
Yeah, the cover is just the jacket of it just says a K. So that's I was envisioning it. I was like, Citizen K. No, it's Citizen Kane.
It comes with the breakfast cereal too.
Exactly.
Yeah, right?
Exactly. It's not
like
special.
Circle K.
Yeah,
You get Citizen K at Circle K with your
Special
with your Special K cereal. Let's see here. They do excellent work with progression of time, always being at season changes as well. Summer to fall, fall to winter. Accentuate. That's exactly right, Aldous. It's amazing how they do that.
Yeah, Aldous, buddy. I don't know if you're on Twitter. I did send you the link. Let me know if that works for you, or if you need me to resend it. If you want to hop on, you know.
Hey man, this is me filibustering. This is my stream. I'm just kidding.
Have you guys talk about movies again? That's cool, man.
Oh yeah. So
let's talk about westerns, Aldous.
Westerns, yeah.
I haven't really.
The
only one I've seen is Unforgiven.
Wait, that's
the only Western you've ever seen.
Yeah.
What?
You've never seen a John Wayne movie?
No, man.
Never seen a John Wayne movie.
No.
Well, you should. Before you die.
That's the thing too. Is my wife does not like westerns.
Well, you should fix that.
How many has she seen?
Watch them. Yeah,
she doesn't like how they're like dirty. Like it looks dirty. Everything looks dirty. I'm like, yeah, because everybody was broke.
I know, it looks badass.
God,
like it's dirty and badass.
No.
Oh, Tombstone. Yeah, Miss H has not seen Tombstone. I've seen Tombstone. Okay.
I've
seen Tombstone multiple times.
I've
even seen Wyatt Earp.
Wyatt Earp is definitely a Western, man.
Tombstone, and I was like,
a Western.
And I was like, fuck this. Tombstone's better.
Tombstone's better. Tombstone's more entertaining. Let's put it.
Yeah. Yeah. You go.
Yeah. What about so you've never seen The Searchers?
No.
It's a good John Wayne movie, yeah.
The Searchers is one of the greatest films ever made, for sure. Many people would consider it the best Western ever made, and for legitimate reasons. It's not a pretentious, stupid movie. It's a movie that is, I think, an unflinching portrait, especially in the time that it was made, of the perspectives of people. And John Wayne is a Confederate veteran from the Civil War, and definitely racist in that movie. And but the movie is about not him being perfect.
The style at the time.
Yeah, he was super. Well, no, I mean the movie even is not sympathetic to him being a racist. It's about him basically how he deals with adversity and basically horrifying things that occur in that film. It's not your typical 1950s happy kind of Western where everybody rides off into the sunset. And that final shot there in that film is just an epic shot. So, but yeah, you should definitely watch that. I would also recommend Rio Bravo, one of my personal favorite Westerns.
Speaking of epic ending shots,
yeah,
and I think J-Bot would enjoy this one. It's a later Western, but it's, well, later as far as what we call Westerns for the most part. But Once Upon a Time in the West, the parting scene, well, it's not really the parting scene, but it's kind of the big reveal of the movie. Is one of my favorites.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up, Odin, because I do not like Once Upon a Time in the West, and the reason why is not because it's not because of Sergio Leone's direction or anything. Or it's Leone, right? Or is it Leone? I can't. I keep getting these names.
It's Corleone.
No, yeah, right. Anyway, that movie
Tomato,
just
tomato.
seems to drag on for a million years. I mean, am I wrong, or is that the slowest paced movie?
Well, it sets you off that way from the beginning, but I really love how they did the beginning. There are parts that drag, but I think almost every Western I've seen has parts that I'm like, all right, get to the point already, you know, just because it was an older time and I'm too modernized, I think.
I have seen Five-O Goes West.
Okay, fair enough. That's
Not a
basically
Western.
like the cartoon version.
Mrs.
Not
H
a
was like,
Western.
Five-O Goes West?
Well, no, actually,
Alien versus
is Five-O
Cowboys
Goes
was
West?
one?
That's Jimmy Stewart's final performance, I believe.
Oh, is it?
Yes, he plays the sheriff, who's a hound dog. I have
Hey,
seen that movie.
Hockey!
G'day everyone, I'm Hocky the Ad Hoc host, most of
Hey,
Comics.
Hocky.
Good to be here with you all today on this fine. Well, it's my Thursday, so whatever time zone you're in, it is a pleasure to be here.
There you go.
Yes. On this Wednesday.
Hail Hockey from the future.
Good morning, good evening,
In the
Hockey.
future, I'm just eating some curly fries and a
Breakfast?
Curly fries from where?
they were just from
From
They
Australia.
were frozen ones. I just heated them.
Oh, from the store.
So curly. Oh, so you're. I didn't quite pick up the Australian there, so I thought I was like, oh wait,
Right.
British, but then there you go.
Came in with
The
good
Australian. That's
By G,
terrible.
by Jingo, by Crikey.
Did you get your curly fries at Macca's for Breckies?
No, they don't have. The only place that has curly fries here is a place called Hog's Breath. No, these ones are just from the supermarket.
Appetizing.
I think
Cool.
they're seasoned, Mrs. H, but I did put some chicken salt on it. So good.
Good times. Aliens versus isn't Cowboys versus Aliens?
Oh, it's a great movie. I like that movie.
They're both versusing each other. Does it matter?
Yeah,
it's Cowboys.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
But they are both versusing each other.
So Hockey. What about Quigley Down Under? Do you like that?
I've never seen it.
Oh, I
Really?
love that movie.
You've never seen the Australian Western?
Yes.
No.
Bad. Tom
It's got-
Selleck.
It's got Tom Selleck who stole my mustache, and it's got Alan Rickman.
Oh, is Ella Rickman in it? Oh, my
Yes,
Yeah.
he is the
Of
villain.
course, he's the antagonist.
He is
brilliant.
Alan Rickmaning to the hilt in that film.
Yeah,
I love
he's
it.
full on Alan Rickman.
There are too few performances of Alan Rickman going
Mhm.
full Alan Rickman, but this is one of them.
That was definitely one.
I would still say one of his best performances was in Robin Hood.
Robin Hood. I was just going to
Of
say,
course.
this
Yeah.
is basically Robin, his same character. He basically
It
does
is
the
pretty much the
same.
same character. Yeah,
Oh,
I don't think he is there an Australian holiday that he can cancel.
Well, his accent is exactly the same. Like, so his voice sounds exactly.
No,
the same.
it's not.
Well, you haven't seen
Well,
Quigley.
no, you've not seen. He's just straight being Alan Rickman in it,
Oh.
which is a beautiful thing to behold. So
Yeah.
it's hilarious.
Love Ellen.
But
The Late,
actually,
the
it's
Great.
funny. I'm sorry. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I just said the late, the great.
The late, the great, indeed. It's one of these guys that passed away because he kept his illness a secret and shocked everybody. So,
Yeah.
but no, it's funny. It's
I would do it.
you watch Die Hard, which I watched on Christmas Eve. I have that on 4K too. But that scene where he pretends to have an American accent is hilarious.
Oh, so
It's
good.
the worst American accent you could possibly imagine. So I'm wondering, was he trying to be bad with the accent there, or what?
I don't know.
Or
But,
this is like this is what I think you guys sound like.
Yeah, this is so stupid you sound. Let me try.
I heard that was his first movie.
Yes, that was his first film.
Well, that's what I was just gonna say. He didn't figure out how to go full Alan Rickman yet. Like he was really
True.
good in it, but it wasn't quite the same level.
That was God, that's such a great movie.
First movie and being put as the main villain. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is actually really good. Well, I mean, I imagine his audition went pretty well. Like, I'm Alan Rickman. You know, they're like, okay.
I think they actually saw
Like,
him.
I have a
and were
role
like,
for you,
damn,
man.
This guy would be good. So, yeah,
Yeah.
no, absolutely.
Now, sorry if
So-
my chair is really squeaky and this mic picks up everything. So I apologize for that.
I
That's
haven't
all right.
noticed, so you're good.
I didn't notice until you were like beating the hell out of your chair and was squeaking. like crazy.
Yeah. Ah!
Listen to my squeaky chair. Squeak, squeak, squeak.
Yeah, so I will put my camera on my drawing tablet, but I won't put my face on today. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
I am
Well,
not.
I
I'm
already
not-
said
don't
that I
have my
wasn't
hat
going to
on,
draw
so I
tonight,
can't.
so
You are
So-
not obligated, sir.
But
You're
so what
not
else is new?
obligated.
What
I
else-
think you're obligated, actually, but whatever.
any other hot
Not my
topics
show.
anybody want to talk about?
Any other topics?
Yeah, I finally saw Battle Angel or Alita Battle Angel.
Mm, I
And
have
it
not
was-
seen
don't
that.
think
It
I've
was
seen
pretty
that.
good. That was pretty good. The action on it was very good. They captured her the way she moves and stuff. If you read the manga very well, and yeah, I hope they do another one. But who the hell knows? Cameron's busy doing. But you know, Cameron didn't direct it. He just produced it. Robert Rodriguez actually directed the movie.
Really? Okay, because
I think
it's
so,
funny
yeah.
you said that because I think he's kind of losing his touch with his directing. But you like that in film?
Yeah, I liked it.
You Rodriguez is losing his touch?
Yeah, like he did a lot of Mandalorian.
Yeah, or like
His
yeah.
Mandalorian
I thought you were gonna say
episodes
drugs
kind
or
of
something. He
sucked.
did a lot of drugs.
Well, no, he did the episodes with the stupid Dayglow scooters, and it's like there's a lot of action sequences in those particular episodes that are very, very, very sluggish and amateurish, and it's like this is the dude that did Once Upon a Time in Mexico. What happened to this guy?
Yeah, he did Desperado. Like what the
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
no.
Dusk Till Dawn. So just
Yeah.
another great B movie.
I think he did a lot of stuff in Boba Fett. Is what you're thinking about.
Oh no, you're right. I'm sorry, not
With the
Mandalorian.
stu-
You're right.
with the
It's Boba
stupid,
Fett.
with the
scooters
stupid
with Boba
scooters
Fett.
that looks like they do not belong in Star Wars.
Yeah, I apologize. It all blends together for me.
It does.
Yeah.
So,
I haven't watched any of those.
I just remember how
I gave up a
horrible it
long
was.
time ago with Star Wars.
you know what though? I will say this, and I can't, and I'm loath to say it. I say it much to my chagrin. Andor is a great show, and it's
Yeah.
like the Star Wars that you would expect to see from people that had their heads screwed on straight. And there's a great, I meant to do a video about it, but I just never got around to it. There's a scene towards the end of the show, and what's the guy's name? What Skarsgård? Was it Stellan Skarsgård? That he's from
Yeah, Northman
Pirates and Thor and
or the other one.
yeah, the father Skarsgård.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he plays
Skarsgård.
he plays one of the organizers of the rebellion in the film, and he's got this inside mole in the Empire, and this guy says, "Oh, I've got a kid, and this is too stressful for me. I'm gonna have to give up and tap out." And Skarsgård's like, "No, you can't do that. We got too much going on." And the guy's like, "Well, what have you sacrificed?" And so then he goes on this monologue where he talks about how he's sacrificed everything in his life, all of his friends, all of his family, everything that he wants to do, and he knows that he is not going to survive to see the fruits of his labor, and he knows that he will die before this happens. And so he goes on this whole like 2-minute monologue, and so then he finishes it up with, "So what have I sacrificed? Everything." and he does, and it's just like this blood curdling delivery of the line, and it's like because he's so smooth and so nice and so friendly, but then when he turns it on, it's like, "Yes, sir, absolutely, whatever you say, sir." And he gets your attention, and he does it a couple times in the show. Skarsgård does such a phenomenal job in the show, and for a show about
a monologue.
Yeah,
When you ask somebody what you sacrifice.
Hey, Aldous.
Greetings and good evening, gentlemen. Always
Hey,
always
what's
a
up,
pleasure. Appreciate the invite. Felt like I had to swing by. Drew, you're
Yes.
praising Andor.
I am.
I completely agree with everything you're saying. In fact, I was talking about this on Saturday on our show. There's something special about Andor, and I think a lot of it has to do, and it felt so different from all the other Star Wars shows, because Diego Luna, the guy that plays
Luna.
Andor, he's one of the producers.
Oh, really?
And I'm seeing this more and more in shows when they work, whether it's The Witcher with Henry Cavill in season 1, where he was kind of heavily involved and they listened to him, as opposed to season 2, or Andor with Diego, where he's really focused on making sure that they present the character correctly. You get a deeper story and you get more of a character focused drama. Whereas when it's just actors that are hired that are promoting, there seems to be a massive disconnect. And you were talking about Westerns earlier. And, I can't imagine Gary Cooper walking into any role and just phoning it in. I can't imagine Robert Mitchum walking into a role and phoning it in because they weren't involved somehow in the production. But that seems to be where we're at now, just based off the light empirical evidence I referenced.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And that's one of the things about, like, things like Andor. One of the things that people seem to fail to recognize, especially writers these days, and I don't really care about their political persuasion, but in writers in general, they don't seem to understand that your antagonists aren't cartoon characters. They have to be actually threatening, and they have to be serious. And most of Star Wars recent production has treated the villains as one-note idiots, and they're all imbeciles, and they're all roundly mockable, and there's no menacing aspect to them. Well, if they're all imbeciles and this is all high school, you're not going to have, I think, impactful art storytelling or something that's going to last or stand the test of time. Like, Vader in the original movies was extremely terrifying to people, and very serious. They're blowing planets up for real, and people are really paying attention to it. But in the sequel trilogy and all this stuff, and the TV shows, they're all like slapstick Three Stooges stuff. But in Andor, these are serious, actually, competent people that they're dealing with, which is why the stakes are so high for everybody. And so I really appreciate that. That's one of the reasons why it's a phenomenal. It's the best Star Wars that Disney's made.
For sure. There's no argument on there. One of the things, and you kind of touched on it there, and I'm just going to expand on it a little bit, is it's not just the bad guys, quote unquote. The Empire obviously they're the nameless, faceless villain. They kind of put faces on them, but it's more the bureaucracy. Right. That's the villain. What I really liked about it too was it didn't paint Skarsgård's character with he wasn't a full white hat, man. He
is not.
He made a lot of choices in that, and then especially the last 2 episodes where the cause is worth more than any life. And it kind of brings it down into brass tacks of like, nobody in this equation's right. Everybody's fighting for what they think is right. But some people are caught up in the bureaucracy, and others are caught up in almost the mythos of their own creation. And you've got Andor, who's just kind of caught in the middle. And it's so good for Disney. It's not like exceptional. I'm heaping a lot of praise on it, but I mean, don't get me wrong. I talk a lot about this too. It's the saltine cracker theory. We are so starved for really, really good shows that a slightly above average show like Andor feels like a feast.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. And with Skarsgård's character, he's got ice water in his veins, and he is not sentimental about anything. But you're right. The whole idea is that is it one of the greatest shows of all time? No, it's not. But comparatively speaking, it's like you're eating like gas station food, and someone takes you to McDonald's. It's like, holy shit. This is like 5-star dining here.
Right.
No.
Well, where would you rank it? If you're, not wanting to heap too much praise, but you're also trying to sell me a little bit.
Rank it amongst sci-fi
amongst
shows,
Star
Star
Wars
Wars shows.
It's Star Wars show.
It's better than all the prequel trilogy movies.
It is
Fair
better
enough.
than the prequel trilogy movies. It's better than the sequel trilogy movies.
Well,
And
that's a given. The only maybe I'm one of like the 5 people that like the Phantom Menace. So I think it's got a little bit of that. There's a little bit, and if you don't like the Phantom Menace, you're going to be off put by some of the quote unquote political intrigue, and the buildup of characters. But it all heads somewhere, and there's a reason for it all, and that was refreshing. To actually have like character moments that aren't complete and total dead ends. It was just weird watching that. It wasn't what I expected at all. I heard some praise for it, and I tuned in, and it was one of those where I sat down and watched episode 1 and 2. Then the next thing I know, the next night I watched 3 and 4, and the next night I watched 5 and 6. And I was like, okay, this is actually getting better. Like, I'm used to shows getting worse these days, and this got better.
Yeah,
they did. The
And
first
really,
two shows were slow.
It's saved in the middle portion by oh shoot, what's his name? The actor that played Golem, Anthony Serkis.
Oh yeah.
There's a whole moment where it feels like it's kind of hitting a little bit of a doldrum, and an event happens, and Andor ends up in the place with Anthony Serkis's character, and Anthony Serkis carries at least one entire episode fully on his back with very minimal lines. It's just good acting. It was very well done. Andy Serkis, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people don't realize that when you're talking about the bureaucracy of it all, a lot of people they like to, oh, government's great because they're going to take care of us, and the reality is that bureaucracy is just normal people that do not have talent filling a necessary role and doing it as inefficiently as possible. And for a lot of things, when you need to get stuff done, it can be a monstrous evil thing. And so it's funny that a lot of what's going on in that sequence, that particular couple of episodes you're talking about, is people just like, I'm going to press the button because this is my job, and I'm not going to care about what the context of what's happening or how it's impacting these other people. And then when they get to the end of that thing and they're about ready to escape everything, and Serkis says, I can't swim. it's such a perfect ending to that entire arc that just sums up everything, that in the futility of what they're trying to do, but still they try anyway. And that's the story of humanity.
So it's called Andor. It's not related to the moon of Andor at all.
No, it's Andor, Andor.
Oh, so that's the guy's name.
Yeah, it's the guy's name. So if you watch Rogue One, he is the non-female I solve every problem in the world Star Wars character from Disney Star Wars, and then she's like, what have you given up? And he's like, you don't talk to me about sacrifices I've made. And then everybody winds up dying at the end of Rogue One, but this movie, or this show, was a prequel to that movie, and damn it if it's not better than that film. It really is. So,
well, and I heap some praise on Andy Serkis. I also want to heap some praise on Forrest Whitaker, because there's one episode in particular and one scene that I was just jaw drop on Whitaker's performance when he's talking to Stars. Yeah, he played Saw Gerrera's.
He comes
I
back.
think he's in 3 episodes.
Yeah,
but there's a great discussion towards the end between Stellan Skarsgård's character and Forrest Whitaker's character, and Forrest Whitaker acts his ass off in that sequence. It is. Skarsgård plays it really cool, but Whitaker's just all over the place, and it's all facial. And it was, again, man, it's nice to see good actors getting material that really allows them to do a good job.
Great acting in Star Wars is not something you usually see a lot of at the same time.
Right.
And so when you get it, like what Aldous is saying, it just like, oh wow, it's like a revelation. And these two guys are just murdering it in that scene. And it's honestly, it's not unlike The Godfather in how they don't really care about the collateral. They care about the business that they're in. It's not personal.
It's funny you say The Godfather. I'd go with another Coppola. That exchange reminded me of Kurtz and Willard in Apocalypse Now, where one person's talking about they're having one conversation at one point, but each one's having philosophically a different conversation tangentially to the conversation they're having. Yeah, and neither one is really getting the other's point, but one of them is certainly mad. The difference was you knew that Kurtz was insane, but you don't know in this situation which one's right. Like, because they're both making valid points, and they just they're doing this circular argument thing, and they're both zealots in their own way. It's just really good. There's a couple of moments in Andor that are really good, very well written.
Well, you guys have sold me. I'm going to probably check it out now.
You should check it out.
Mainly like the Forrest Whitaker thing. I didn't know he made a return in the series.
Yeah,
so I was like, that's badass.
If you're of the mindset that you want to reward Disney for doing the things that they should be doing, you should watch this show.
Okay, that's a fair enough point too.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. No, don't. This is something I'm full of. The best response to garbage is total apathy. Don't hate watch it. Rings of Power, fine, check it out, watch one episode. If you liked it, watch two. But the minute it goes garbage and you hate it, stop watching it, because the more
stop talking about it, because in the internet world you're basically giving it attention.
Right. Apathy is the response to bad media. You don't talk about it. You don't harp on it. If the Joker's pregnant in a comic book and you don't want to see that, you don't talk about it. You don't do. You don't fire up 15 streams and everybody's talking about it tonight. It's just ridiculous.
You say that about the Lord of the Rings. Considering that I just said to these guys that the Lord of the Rings is my favorite film, I have said I think you could probably time it all up to about 15 seconds of Rings of Power discussion that I have put out there. And because you're right, I'm not even going to give this the time of day. Yeah. It's not even worth talking about. It's that far below my threshold of, acceptability with Lord of the Rings media. So, but no, the Joker thing. Yeah, no, I got into it. So I looked at that. I'm like going, that's, you know what that is? It's like that Mad Max gift.
I was going to say
that's bait. That's bait.
So, I thought about it. It's like, is this something? I know that people are totally racking up views talking about it, and I thought about doing a video about it for my channel, considering I talk about DC stuff and Marvel stuff. But I was thinking, no, this is what they want. I was talking with someone on Twitter. They said, so there's like, what's your problem with it? And I'm like, my problem with it is that it's trolling, and not only is it trolling, it's a B story, which they're charging you extra to pay for. Their subsidizing garbage like this on that comic book. It's the joke. It's the man who stopped laughing, and so it's the B-side story. So I don't know if you're familiar, if you've been buying DC Comics lately, they charge another $1 above the regular $3.99. It's so they can have these B stories, and the B stories are inevitably garbage, and ways for them to do stunt stuff with you, like exactly like this. And so I'm looking at this and I'm like, legitimately, I could see a reason that everybody would be angry about this panel, that no matter what your political leaning is or social leaning, there's, I mean, like, say for example, you're the person that's like, oh, I'm like, let's go trans flag everything's wonderful. And then they say, we're going to gain acceptance by making an evil psychopath a trans person. And you're just like, what? That's like counterproductive. And then, of course, you got the opposite side of that, where people are just going to be facially pissed off about it. And so it's like, this is a thing where they're just trying to be provocative to piss off as many people as possible, to get them to talk about it. And it's working for them right this second because I'm talking about it.
I was just gonna say,
So,
here we are.
so that's my point. I wanted to be super meta about that.
Right, I'm curious because, like you mentioned, they're doing the B stories. The B stories have always been part of Detective Comics for the longest time. Is this just on the Batman title, or I don't know? The last DC books I bought were when Jock did the One Dark Knight, and oh man, was I disappointed! And I haven't
That's
bought
Black
anything.
Label stuff.
Yeah, it's still DC.
Yeah, well, yeah, but it's not the main DC Comics. That's not what I'm talking about. That's like special prestige kind of stuff.
I wouldn't say there's anything been prestige about Black Label for a while, but that's teach their own.
Well, it's much more expensive, so therefore it's prestige. And then they got these weird art formats. So, like, that's actually one of the things that pissed me off. I freaking love Jock's work.
Absolutely, that's why
Batman
I bought
writer.
it, man. His covers for the old Azrael run in the '90s, holy shit, great stuff, man.
Yeah.
But that book is in a format that there's not like I can't put it in protective sleeve. It pisses me off. So, but yeah, no, that One Dark Knight had a great tease to start off with. The first issue was great, but it kind of just evolved into meh at the end of it. So I agree with you.
I was bummed, man. I was really looking forward to that.
No, but the B-sides with DC stuff right now. So like, if you buy a major, like a mainline DC title, like Batman or Superman, Son of Kal-El, if you buy that garbage, that what they'll do is if you look at the cover, it'll have the main story, and it'll say also featuring blah blah blah. And so what they're doing is they're charging you $4.99 on the book, and then they're putting these stories at the end of the main story, and they're usually a different creative team doing a different story that's tangentially related, possibly with some characters, and it's just, to me, I look at it as just another several pages for them to give you a lot of stuff that you don't really want to read, but they're saying, oh, look how popular this is, this garbage that we're pushing. And that's what pisses me off. Like if I go buy a mainline Marvel book, right, it's going to be $3.99, and I get a digital copy in addition to that with it, so it's a much better value. And I think it's a little bit more of a less underhanded way of, if there's a Marvel book that's got garbage in it, you don't have to buy the book. But if it's something that's got good stuff in it, you can buy it and be happy about it. So, and there are some like that.
Which ones?
Heyo.
Daredevil, presently.
Daredevil? Okay.
Daredevil by Zdarsky is really good in my opinion. And as far as DC books, though, Batman is actually not bad. Also written by Zdarsky. Also Carnage, written by Ron V. And also Batman Detective written by Ron V. It's weird. You've got Zdarsky writing a big DC title and a big Marvel title, and you got Ron V doing the same thing. I don't think this has ever happened before. I mean, you guys aware of this?
Yeah, a little bit. I'd pay attention to what's on there. I mean, most of what I'm buying right now I buy a lot of the Dune run that Boom's doing. There's a couple of I think Maze Runner was the last one that I bought from Image. I liked that. Lemire did really good. I don't buy much. I'm still buying Moon Knight because I'm a Moon Knight completist, and even though it's garbage, I'll just keep on buying it because I got to keep the long box full. I've got every issue, so at this point, it's like, well, I've got to just keep on buying, right?
Right. So
And hopefully, it'll get canceled so I can stop buying it.
Yep.
Which it's borderline insane, but I mean, I'm a comic fan in my 40s, so that's kind of already a given.
True.
But no, like when you're talking about Batman's okay or this is okay, dude. They're 32-page books for like $5. At this point, just don't buy 5 of them and go to Fantagraphics and buy a 260-page collection of EC Comics greats for the same price. Like to me, it just becomes a financial issue at that point. And I've cut a lot of books out just because of that. Like, man, this is ridiculous. I'd much rather own, anything, any of these collected works,
Classic,
from the 50s and the 60s, rather than buying any of this new stuff, because it's just the stories aren't there, the art's not there, and regardless of the politics, it's not a good book. End of story.
You're absolutely right about that. You know, because I mean, let's just think about this, right? $5 per book. That's $20 for 4 books, as opposed to, like, say, Marvel, it's $20 for 5 books, and you know, it's like that adds up, and especially when you could, like, go find a nice format collected thing, right? I actually started getting into omnibuses because of that. It's like, oh, here's a run that's good that I can just have on my shelf, and if I want to reference it or I want to read it, I can just flip it open, go to page whatever, and say, oh, this is where this happened. And it's you don't have to worry about protecting it. You just put it on your shelf and it's ready to go whenever you want. And then with DC stuff, with the absolute versions of runs, that's even better. Like, I got for Christmas, I had some thoughtful family members. I got Green Arrow Rebirth, or not Green Arrow, Green Lantern Rebirth, absolute, and the Jeff Johns Aquaman omnibus, and my sister-in-law's boyfriend bought. He's crazy. The guy got me Absolute Watchmen. So
Oh,
I was
nice.
like, damn.
Very cool.
So I'm like, it's like I guess you and I are gonna have to spend some more time together, dude, because that's not an inexpensive thing to buy for somebody. So, but yeah, no, that you're right. You can get collector works, and for a lot less money or more value for the money that you're paying for them. So
Yeah. Well, like, even if you don't know what's inside and you're taking
Yeah.
a chance, it's still such a better value, that, especially when you're paying that much for a single issue and you're not going to like it, and maybe you're jumping in partway through a series or arc or something.
Yeah.
Then,
yeah. Well, that when you mentioned that, like, I was not buying Detective. I stopped buying Detective because they had the I Am Not Starfire lady writing it, and
Yeah.
I'm not gonna watch. Just no.
Right.
So I was like, I had been pulling Detective and I canceled that pull, and then Ron V comes on it, and now I love Ron V's writing in Carnage. He's a great writer, but that's $5 a book, and I'm not going to buy that. And so, but he had this page that he put out. He released this teaser page of a Freeze Batman encounter, and the writing is so good on that one page. I went out and bought his entire run over the weekend, and the run itself is not spectacular in my personal opinion, but that page alone, and I did a video about it, is the best page that I read in a comic book last year, without a doubt, and best single individual page. And so I highly recommend that you check it out. I mean, you can go on Twitter and read it, but basically it has Miss Victor Freeze taking a beat to recognize and see himself in Batman, and it's not something that you typically see in comic writing. It's a much more philosophical, I think, mature conversation that these two are having, and it's something that you don't see a lot of writers focusing on. They're more concerned with driving an agenda than telling character-driven stories. And Ram V is a writer that I think is more concerned with character-driven stuff, as evidenced by his Daredevil, or not his Daredevil, his Carnage as well.
Yeah, I haven't been reading any of that.
Yeah.
Nor,
So let's
honestly,
talk
at
about
this
stuff
point-
you've been reading and watching.
You, what do you want to talk about? Man, what have I been reading? For Christmas, I got Sucker Bait and Other Stories, which is the Graham Ingalls collection by Fantagraphics. Highly recommend that. That is
Very
just
nice.
fantastic.
Love Graham.
Man,
Ingalls.
I got a bunch of I got Volume 1 and Volume 3 of Alex Raymond's Flash Gordon strips. The collections from Nostalgia Press from 71 and 72. Those were really excellent. And then right before Christmas, I picked up for a hell of a deal off of Midtown. And I was thrilled to get this. I had the privilege of actually speaking to the author in the early 2000s when I was up in the Portland area. But I got the a hardcover Erie Presents El Cid, written by Bud Lewis. And that has just been fantastic, man. I've been poring over this for a lot longer than I should have, because it's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. They don't make books like this anymore.
No, well, I just got a collection of Creepy, and yeah, I'm like, nothing looks like this anymore. Nothing reads like it either. But
No, we could get into Bolton too, because I got some Bolton books that I didn't even know existed that Mrs. Aldous found for me. I'm sure she probably talked to one of my friends and like, what the hell? Who the hell is John Bolton, and where do I get his shit? But yeah, no, it's just some awesome stuff. It was where I think I have them right here somewhere. Talk amongst yourselves while I dig amongst the pile. Oh, I got some Doc Solar here that I picked up recently. Good old Dell classics. I'm still always buying my Savage Sword of Conan, and that's my issue, man. I can get Savage Sword of Conan issues for like $5 to $6 in above reader grade. And why bother buying new stuff when I've got that excellent stuff out there?
Yeah, no, I've got tons of Savage Sword for that reason. It's hard to beat too. Like, I think Roy Thomas was killing it. I think all the artists were amazing, of course. It's Buscema's best work. Ernie Chan. I ended up getting this one for Christmas. The best DC stories of their Terror collection.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's just
Looks gorgeous, dude.
Random artists, random stories pulled from their various lines. You know, some of them were weird mysteries and weird science, Vault of Terror. And then they list them by like who was probably the most prestigious, whether it was the writer or the artist.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Jack Davis, Alex Toth, Wally Wood, Harvey Kurtzman, you know, all the greats. And some of these stories are really fun. I mean, not all of them were as good, but you know, a few of them were really awesome. And then the artwork was just killer. Just trying to find that. Oh yeah, this one was a really, really cool story. Reminded me of a Twilight Zone episode, the Death's Head Revisited. It's a Yahtzee story. But yeah, that was a good collection. And then I got a creepy one that was a hardcover.
Let's try 5.
Came with this the creep on the inlay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But yeah, I was looking at some of this artwork and I'm just like, man, these guys were spot on. They got some amazing artists. There's some color stuff. It's surprising too. Look at that.
That's really
Oh, wow.
impressive.
That's great.
I love the balloons too, man. The narration. They're not afraid to use some words, but they're elegantly placed, despite the fact they're being prolific.
Right.
It's not just 1 and 2 sentence. It just pisses me off with some of the new books. It's either, you know, you got Bendis just spilling out a dictionary over the page, or it's just 1 and 2 sentence.
Yeah,
blurbs
not
everywhere.
much said, you know.
Nobody. This is, you know, looks well paced and looks well. The layout's excellent.
Yeah.
That's just what you get from that era. That's why I just tend to go back to there, man. As my dollar goes farther and I get better quality art and story.
Well, these are, especially the creepy was more short stories and less serials. I know Erie did more serials, but you had like an economy of space, so they had to be you know, succinct, but also poetic. You know, like they did a masterful job with that.
I think they were professionals, you know?
Yeah, I think they just really cared about their craft. You're
Yeah.
exactly right.
Speaking of what you're drawing, man, looks fantastic. What did you guys decide to do? You're doing wear things?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing a were gorilla.
A wererilla?
A werilla? A Magilla werilla.
Very
Blow
nice.
hockey for a minute. Let's see what hockey's working on.
Oh, wait a second. I just had a phone call, so I just had to.
Sure, he's over there drawing.
Hockey, is that like a wear superhero?
It's
So where you been?
It's a werewower.
Where?
A werewower.
What's a werewa?
A werewower.
You sound like
So
Barbara
it's a
Walters.
were.
and-
Let me translate. It's a were chihuahua.
oh,
Yes.
a werewawa.
Nice.
Wow. Thank you, Aldous.
And to date
Hockey's
himself,
Australian, just doesn't cut it. So.
Yeah, to date himself, Hockey will be having him say "Yo quiero Taco Bell" at the end.
Hey man, that's
so cool,
serious
right?
Ad campaign.
Yeah. It worked, man.
That
Good
taught me
Chihuahua.
Spanish
Speaking
in
Spanish.
Florida.
That was hilarious. Was like, the whole family is like, "Yo, that's me, Holmes." Like,
That's so me.
yeah.
I'm always.
How many
saying
people
words
watch
for Taco
Rami
Bell.
Malek and expect him to say "Yo quiero Taco Bell" at any time?
I want some Taco Bell. I'm saying that all the time, man.
Actually, that could say that does look like Rami Malek.
Like what?
Okay, so Rami Malek is the actor that played damn it.
Yeah, he was in like.
He was
Iron
in
Man.
Mr. Robot.
Yeah,
He was.
Freddie
He
Mercury.
played Freddie Mercury in the
Yeah,
Queen.
he played Freddie Mercury and he was in the Bond movie.
He was.
No,
Yeah,
no
he was the
time
bad
guy.
guy in the last Bond movie.
Oh, okay.
So- and he looks for all the world like a human chihuahua to me.
Yeah, he does. He has an odd looking. Like maybe
Yeah.
he's missing a chromosome, maybe not. We don't know.
He's got
Oh,
these weird
He's got
eyes
the
and
he's got the Marty Feldman eye thing going on. Not nearly as bad as Marty did, but it's there. Whether that's I don't know.
What's that American comedian that had the weird eyes? Died
Pete
like
Davidson.
20 years ago.
I say
Sorry?
Pete Davidson because he has,
No,
yeah.
he was in Caddyshack 2.
Oh,
Oh,
Rodney
Rodney
Dangerfield?
Dangerfield.
Dangerfield. That's it.
yeah.
Jesus,
Yeah.
he's, even dead, he gets no respect.
No
No respect. No respect.
I'll be here all
Sorry.
night.
Went
Tip
to the
your
doctor
waitress.
the
Try
other
the
day.
salad bar.
You know my doctor, Benny Werebeasts.
Went to dinner with a friend once, and it was like, "Don't forget to tip your waitress." And he's like, "But not all the way over." And then we all started fucking just dying. And he was like, "Nobody ever gets that joke. I'm around the right people."
You want to earn $3 the hard way?
My favorite
I
was
say
when
that-
he was talking about quitting smoking. He's like, my wife and I, we agreed to only smoke after sex. He's like, problem is I've had the same pack for 2 years now. My wife's smoking 7 packs a day.
And then he's adjusting his tie all the time while he's saying it.
Oh yeah, that whole
Um,
shtick that he did, like the adjusting the tie and just looking unnervous. I mean, again, like people who care about their craft created a whole character, you know.
Well, he was so funny just to watch, let alone listen to his
Right.
gestures.
Well, and
Yeah, yeah.
on the other side, you had a guy like Rickles that was like just
Genius.
a witty razor. He had no
Oh
like,
God.
he never
Yeah.
responded to anything. His face was always deadpan, but the delivery would just be stiletto after stiletto into the ribs.
Yes.
There's nothing I love more than something like the Dean Martin hosted roasts from the 70s.
Oh, man.
And they're actually drinking, which is the other amazing thing. Like they're getting hammered, and of course Dean's always hammered because that's just Dean
I think
sauce.
Don Rickles was smart enough to like not get hammered, so he
No,
could like keep up
Don
the
does, and that's when Don
really?
gets brutal. Like he doesn't like him, and he goes at. There was one where he went at Shelley Winters, and they're going back and forth. Like Dean's just standing at the microphone, not saying anything, and they're screaming at each other from either side of the podium. And it's not obscenity laced. It's just like verbal repertoire. It's just riposte and lunge back and forth. And man, you don't get anything like that anymore.
Yeah, those were classic, and yeah, Foster Brooks and all those guys. I mean, and then I heard Chris Rock talking about it. He's like, Don Rickles had the black guy voice, And he's like, and nobody thought it was racist, but we're also all thinking like, I don't know any guy who talks like that. But when he would roast a black guy, he had a specific voice. That was racist by today's standards, but hilarious by, I mean, dude's sitting there loving it, you know. It'd be like Muhammad Ali. A guy could beat the snot out of him easily. And here's Don Rickles just like ripping him apart.
Yeah.
It was just, I always love watching it, like where he's on Carson, and he gets Carson so broken up that Carson can't even hold the show. You know, he's gone, man. It's just,
well, both of those guys, Rickles and Dangerfield, could get Carson going, where he looked like he was gonna piss his pants or something.
So, Hockey, this weird Wawa, did you steal his curly fries? Is that why he looks so confused?
Yeah, that's it, exactly. He just looks like every other Chihuahua. Hideous.
Yeah, that perpetual inbred looking face.
Mean.
It's like, I don't eat babies. I'm not a dingo.
you know what it is? I've always equated Chihuahuas to Tony Danza because they always have that expression, just like Tony Danza is, that he just walked in on something that surprised him. It's just perpetually there on his face.
Tony
But
Dan.
I
I've
can see
never
that.
heard that comparison.
If I had time, I'd draw the rest of the werewolves, and this would come up to the other werewolves' knees. So.
Oh yeah, so it's for a scale. Yeah. Yeah, Tony Danza, he kind of like had that. Remember Joey Lawrence and his whoa?
Yeah.
Like I could picture Tony Danza doing that, but he wasn't that stupid, you know. Because he had that whoa-looking face.
This is more than Tony Danza's been discussed in the last 20 years.
Sure. It's true. You know, as a kid, I didn't
Go on.
understand that show that he was.
Yeah, his
in. He
agent
was
is
the
like,
boss.
some guys on the YouTubes are talking about you.
I watched that show. It's like his boss is the lady. Why is the show called Who's the Boss?
Because it's a play, right? He's like, is he the boss or is she the boss? Oh man, the 80s.
Or is Alyssa Milano the boss?
She's not smart enough.
You know who the
She's
boss
dead
was?
yet.
It was Charles, because Charles was in charge.
Charles,
Charles
that's
was
right.
right.
They told you. You know what you were getting into.
Absolutely,
Have-
right there.
Have you ever thought
Mr.
about
Belvedere left nothing to the imagination. He was in charge. Because every
true.
family, well, actually, that show gets a full pass for me, simply because the dad.
Did you mention that on the stream the other night too?
I did. Well, somebody
You're
was
like
talking
Benson,
about it.
and that was again like that's
Yeah,
the first
Benson.
time I've heard that name mentioned.
Benson.
Well,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Let's think about this.
I
Right?
I
Let's think about
apologize if Benson was mentioned on our stream.
No, not Benson, Mr. Belvedere,
Benson.
but,
this. Oh my god!
but Benson's
All
in
these
charge.
80s shows with these people showing up in these houses, telling these families how to get their acts together. That's what these shows are. It's like a whole genre. You got
Right, well, it is,
Benson and Belvedere and Charles.
It hit its,
Yeah.
in my mind, it hit its apex at Mr. Belvedere when you get a top shelf English butler running a Midwestern home with Bob Euchre as the dad. Like that, you've
People
now
don't realize how bizarre that is.
right. You are so off in Wonderland at that point that you could have a white rabbit running through the living room from the kitchen, and it would just seem part of the show.
You get because people need to understand there is no way that the family and Mr. Belvedere could afford, because Mr. Belvedere working as a standard butler would make all of them more than all of them combined. that's how top flight
Oh, he was the
personal
best.
butler is like that. So that's out of control. You're right.
You're gonna pay high dollar for a Belvedere for sure.
He's like, yeah, I'll stay here as long as I can write my diary at the end of every episode and snark on all these people. So,
I forgot that Bob Euchre was the dad. So he was another one of the funniest
So
people.
how could
But
you
yeah,
Just
forget
a bit
Bob
outside.
Euchre, man? Bob Euchre was he was the reason we used to take the ferry at least once a summer and go to a Brewers game.
Oh yeah, the voice of the Brewers. No,
did
Norm
he
Macdonald
call
would tell
things like
stories
Major
about
League
him.
in real life?
Yes, and he would actually get drunk too. You'd hear him slurring his words, and it was just he was a special human being. Still is, I believe he's still alive.
Bob Uecker? Not.
Is he still alive?
He's still alive? I don't think Bob Uecker's still around. Let me check that out.
If he is, that's even more impressive.
Yeah, well, he's not in the Baseball Hall of Fame yet, which is tragic.
Oh my
That is
God, he's still
tragic,
alive.
I think it was
Holy
like a
crap.
180 hitter, not even a 200. He's below the Mendoza line. I'm pretty sure.
Right,
that.
but he should be in the Hall of Fame for his sportscasting.
His,
No, yeah, for the sportscasting, not for anything he did on the field.
Yeah, not for what he did on the field.
Well,
no,
maybe
his
I don't
average
know.
is 200 according to
Is he
Wikipedia.
200? Okay, so
Yeah,
he's above the
200 with
Mendoza
14,
line.
Just at
14
200.
taters, as they say in Cheers, and 74 RBI. But he should be like an honorable mention just because
And some
he's
stats.
so he's such a high profile for baseball.
No, there was a story that Norm Macdonald told because he became friends with him, which is a great pairing. And he was like telling it on Dave Letterman. And apparently John Fogerty was in the audience. And Bob Uecker goes, "Hey, man, that's John Fogerty down there, rock and roll singer, you know?" He's like, "You probably think he's some fucker who bites the heads off of chickens or something, but I'll tell you, that guy can sing a song like nobody's business. He's a hell of a golfer, too." And he's like, "Anyway, I'll have him come up here later. He'll sing for us." And Norm's like, No, don't bring him up here to sing for us." He's like, "What the hell's the matter, man? Don't you know John Fogerty is?" He's like, Yeah, I know who he is. He did Creedence Clearwater Revival." He ends the story with, "Yeah, he did all that fucking shit." Because apparently he just swore like nonstop.
Yes, he did.
Eric Grant says where Chihuahua looks like he got drop kicked right in the penis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Being drop kicked would be enough to have that face in any
Kiro.
particular area.
Huevos.
He is looking great.
That's a
Your
cool
Kiro protective cup.
Yes.
Yeah, it's coming out great, Odin.
Somebody got I forget.
Thank you.
Someone got hit right in the package with no. This was a Christian. Damn it, soccer player. What's his name? Christian Pulisic in the World Cup. I don't know if you guys ever watched that. He got
No,
knee in the
soccer
groin scoring a goal, and my wife is like, "Doesn't he wear a protective cup?" I'm like, I was like,
It doesn't
they
matter.
only
at
go
this
so
point.
far, and basically soccer players don't wear them. So,
Yeah. MMA fighters wear them, and regularly they stop the match because they got one to the pills, as Boss Ruben would say. He took one to the pills.
someone was giving them the business, like that one referee.
Oh, yeah, they're giving them the business. That's my favorite line.
Personal foul, giving them the business.
Yeah, he actually used that. He was down there giving them the business. I actually used that phrase earlier. I was showing that Thor drawing, and I was like, "There's Thor giving Loki the business."
Oh God, that's an all-time great NFL highlight.
Oh yeah. Well, apparently it happened more than once. There was another ref that did.
Oh really?
I don't know who was first.
So, what else you guys want to talk about?
Drew, there was a phrase you used on a stream a while back, and I keep forgetting what it is, and I want to use it more. Kind of like giving them the business. It was like a kind of an antiquated phrase for like ripping someone apart verbally, I think. Yeah, what would that be? What was the phrase you used? Remember.
Putting you on the spot.
On a stream or on a video?
On a stream, we were hanging out like this on JBot's stream. And he used a phrase.
All the cool phrases come from hanging out on my streams.
Pretty much.
for eviscerating someone? No, that wouldn't be it. That
Yeah, it
be
wasn't
like
eviscerating. Like I said, it was like an antiquated kind of way of saying like somebody tore someone apart verbally.
I think I know what you're talking about. Let me see if I can't reach into the
Vault.
file cabinet of my increasingly less efficient brain.
Fair enough. Take your time.
Oh, what was it? God, now you put me in that spot. You know, it's like, oh, I know what it is, but I can't pull it. Honestly, what is it? feel like I've got to Google this.
I feel like we're not going to get the answer I want.
No, we'll get the answer because now I'm like,
I was determined.
it's because it's funny because there's a song I heard once upon a time, and I'm like, damn it, what? I know this song exists, but I could not find it. I could not find the artist. It was an obscure contemporary Christian pop song that I heard one time in 1995 on the radio driving to work, and I knew that this had to exist somewhere, but I could not find it for the life of me. And then I wound up actually randomly searching Apple Music and getting it, and I was like, yes, I knew. I mean, I can't tell you. It was like it won the Super Bowl of memory. and
It's a great
like
feeling.
out of print CD. I found a copy of the CD on eBay. I bought that shit, and I played that on repeat for like 45 minutes. I'm like, it exists. It's real. Anyway, but yeah, no, I'm gonna find out what that was because I think I know. I think I remember saying something that was one of those more well-read sayings that you could use for dressing down.
Dressing down.
There you go.
Dressed him down. That was it. I'm glad you remember.
Yes. Yeah. Who were we talking about that dressed someone down?
I don't know. It was like a movie reference or something. A guy and he dressed him down.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one.
I don't even really understand the etymology for that.
Yeah,
what would the origin? Where would someone be that getting dressed down would be?
I wonder if it's like depantsing, Yeah, like
maybe that's what it is.
I verbally depantsed him.
He was giving him a stern dressing down.
A stern dressing. I dressed him down to his core.
I dressed him down to his skivvies.
His nethers.
Okay, so J-Bot, you got a were. What are you doing? A were Wookie?
It's a skunk.
It's a were skunk. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. Good concept.
But like a Ninja
5
Turtle skunk.
5 minutes of Google Foo has informed me that the term dressing down has a naval connotation for if you did something that got you punishment, you would have to take down the old sail and redress it with oil and wax.
Which is one step below being keel hauled.
Keel hauled was you were thrown in front of the boat with a rope tied around you and then dragged across the bottom of the hull, which had not been debarnacled.
Hello?
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
Jesus.
Yeah, that sounds horrible.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're here, Hockey. We're here.
But you're not.
I gotta go because I've got to go. I've got someone waiting at the front to pick me up. So
Oh, sounds good, man.
I gotta go get my car.
Yeah, take care, bro.
Okay.
Get back
Cheers.
before midnight.
Bye.
It's gonna turn to a pumpkin.
Right.
A long way
Later,
away.
Hockey. Thanks for
Jay,
stopping by, bud.
Take it easy,
Yeah.
Hockey. Always a pleasure, man.
Do any of you guys play D&D?
I did it, but I don't anymore.
I do not. I never.
I'm about a year removed from my last year and a half removed from my last campaign.
So,
about 20 years removed.
so I got a friend coming over. He's like keen to play D&D. He's never done it. He wants to be the DM. And
Wait,
and
never
so my
done
wife
it?
and
He
I.
wants to be the DM?
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, I'm sorry. You said he'd never done it before, and he wants to be the DM.
Yeah, he actually got a bunch of stuff apparently for Christmas, and he's like, "Oh, let's play some D&D," and we come over. I'm like, "Okay, sure." So I played it one time, and my wife. It's very strange. My wife and I have played tons of WoW. Okay, which let's be frank is essentially a D&D video game, and to an extent.
More or less.
Excuse me. And so we're sitting there like we were playing it this one time with some other friends, and she's like, "I don't know what we're doing." I'm like, "What do you mean you don't know what we're doing? You've got a character just like your WoW character that's got different skill sets." And she's like, "But like what?" I'm like, "You're pretending to be your character, and what would your character do in this situation? There's a giant troll coming at you." And it's like she had a total disconnect. about what this meant. It was like I was talking to her in Martian. So anyway,
great.
so now this friend of ours wants to do it and come over with his girlfriend and do a DM thing or do a game of Dungeons and Dragons. And so I'm like trying to find out, like, if you all have ever tried to get someone in their right mind about how to play this game. I could use some pointers because I'm having difficulty translating this to my wife. Actually, I got her a nice little pink set of Chess X dice, so as a little surprise. So I'm gonna try to get her amped up with some toys and stuff like that. But we'll see.
Sorry, that
Nice.
sounded funny.
Here's your custom dice, baby.
Well, it's
They're
funny.
glow-in-the-dark pink dice.
It is funny you mentioned that because Santa blessed our home with two things. One was a copy of Hero Quest for the kids, the new one.
Oh
that
man,
they just,
I love HeroQuest.
yeah, and they redid it. They brought it back.
It's a new one. Nice.
Hasbro threw it up on their HasLabs and it made a shit ton of money. So they just published it, and it's like $100.
Yeah.
He brought that. He also brought because Mrs. Aldous has always been curious. She's was never exposed to D&D or anything, and we got the newest DM guide. Santa brought that as well, and so there's been talk amongst Mrs. Aldous and a couple of her friends that they want to have me and one of my friends host like a DM thing where they play D&D. It's like, well, what? I don't know how you build a campaign for 40-year-old women, but I'm sure it's just going to involve wine and shopping.
Well, here's a good intro to that. Is I've done like host of murders with friends, and that's kind of the same thing. Like you have to get into character, and you basically role play. It's what it is. It's not a dice game. It's not the same as D&D. It's not fantasy world, but do that. Get one of those host of murder games. Everybody gets a character to play. Everybody, as long as you're not playing with total stiffs, dress up, put on an accent or something, play the part. That might be a better first start because it's easier to wrap your head around. Like once you start, I don't know how into like fantasy, type thing she's into, because sometimes that in itself is kind of like, what the hell are you talking about?
I think
but
she likes the Big Bang Theory, and if you've watched enough Big Bang Theory, you'll know that they did a couple different scenes on D&D where Howard plays celebrity voice impressions and doing D&D, which is hilarious. So I think I might pull some of those episodes because she freaking loves that show. It's like, see, it's like this. It's like when Howard is pretending to be Al Pacino in D&D.
Yeah, it's got to use some kind of analogy, but I mean, it's basically like, did you not play pretend as a kid? Just pretend you're the character.
Well, she's very creative, very imaginative, but I'm just trying to. I'm wondering what the hell's going on. It's like you're the one doing dungeon raids with bunny ears, pissing off everybody else in the raid party because you didn't have the correct gear. And you didn't care, and you knew what you were doing. So how do you not understand this? So her character, for some Easter thing and WoW, had these bunny ears, and she did not give a damn that they added nothing to her armor or spell casting ability. She just liked the way they looked, and so she would like amp up all these other different aspects. So here we are running through dungeons and raids with freaking Playboy bunny. That's what it looked like. Right. It's hilarious.
Well, I will say this after flipping through the latest 5th edition stuff. It is so far removed from what I would call D&D. The last campaign I played was it was OSR shit. So it was it fits in closer to like 2.5. It's Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, but it's like Advanced Dungeons and Dragons going back 30 years to kind of the best of what was in 1st and 2nd and some of the stuff in 3rd. But you read 5th is very grounded for easy entry. It's not, there's a lot of trash, but it's super easy to get into. You just got to get somebody in the right mindset. And probably that's actually harder than anything else. But
well, that's the key to everything. I mean, you're going to have a horrible time playing with somebody who's not. I've been there plenty of times.
Right, but we've got a good group of friends. I mean, we've played Fury of Dracula, which is a great board game. We've done Catan, which is another fun board game.
Oh yeah, Catan.
And one from the '80s. If you've never played it, if you've got a good group of friends that all know each other, Paranoia is fantastic.
Okay.
I'll keep that in mind.
Is that a tabletop, or is it a roll? No,
it's a borderline. It's a borderline game. It's half tabletop, half role playing game. And what it is it's a dystopian future, and a computer controls all of humanity. And you're a clone, and you get 8 clone replacements of you. And you're sent to do a very mundane task. So you might be sent to repair the pop machine on like level 47B. But you've got one person that's the political officer, one person that's the leader, one person that's the sub-leader, one's the quartermaster. And the whole goal is to kill everybody else by convincing the computer that they have violated a rule.
Yeah.
And so it's this constant back and forth where you're passing secret messages to try to get other people in trouble. And
right,
it's
kind of like Clue at a certain point.
Well, it's something like at a certain point, like the first time you play, the whoever gets the leader character is always going to stand up and like go, okay, well, we're going to work together to do this. And then immediately the political character is going to stand up and go, computer, the leader is obviously being a communist by implying that we are all equal in this situation. And then, the DM rolls a couple dice and, the leader gets eliminated, and then his clone shows up, and, it rolls that way. And it's just, you learn very quickly that it's bloodthirsty, and you're looking to kill everybody.
You have to get vindictive and try to win. Oh, that sounds fun. Yeah, it's been a while since I've played any kind of like imaginative game like that, except with my kids, and they're starting to get the age, but the age gap between my oldest and my youngest is just too much that I can't please my oldest with the, level of intelligence needed or attention, and then also keep my youngest interested at the same time. So.
No, I get that. We've had to do some stuff similar with ours, and we try to like Uno. Uno's a fun one. When they're like under probably 15, 16, because there's a lot of strategy involved.
Right.
And then you can get the more advanced Uno sets where there's danger decks and different kind of cards that affect the game. And that's a good one, because you can start, it teaches. I always like to talk about strategy and like think multiple moves ahead, and you're priming for chess. And then when they hit a certain level, then there's always chess. And when they get bored with chess, there's Go. And then when they get bored with Go, then you obviously go up and you become American and you go with Stratego.
Stratego, yeah. I've been playing chess with my girls. My middle daughter loves it. The other ones kind of don't care. And then play a lot of rummy with them.
Egyptian Rap's a good one.
Played a lot of that. I want to get them into spades, though.
Yeah, hearts and spades. Pinocchle's a great one for math.
Yeah. Or cribbage.
Yep, cribbage same way.
Learn to do a lot of quick math.
Quick calculations, and support that. If you can support quick logical reasoning, especially in girls, that's a huge benefit for them.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we'll start playing cribbage again.
Eric wants to know what's the name of this game, Aldous.
I'm sorry, which game?
Yeah, you mentioned like 20 games.
Oh, Paranoia. Here, I'll put a link. I don't know if.
Probably the main one.
I'm not wrenched, but I'll put a link in. Paranoia is what you're looking for. I think it was originally published by West End Games in the 80s. There's been multiple reprints of it. If you can get an original copy of like the mid 80s or late 80s West End Games version, try to do that, because that to me is the most fun, because that's the most, everybody's a communist and you want to kill them. And there's nothing funnier than, labeling somebody a communist.
Yeah. I knew you were a commie.
Free helicopter rides for all.
I was giving 80s made shit about, because he was so mad about cards the other night. Yeah, I knew he was a commie because he didn't like trading cards. I got a chuckle because he was all pissed. I'm like, dude, they're just cards, man. They're not going to hurt you.
What was it? What was he upset about with trading cards?
Oh, he just hates getting them with campaigns.
Yeah, he
No,
hates
dude,
it.
just throw it. Just if you don't like them that much, either A, throw them on eBay, or B, just get a clothespin and put them on the kid's bike.
Or just throw them away. Like, if you really don't like them that much, you don't have to complain. Just throw
No,
'em
there
away.
is no kid that doesn't think it's cool as hell when you put a card on their bike.
Oh, yeah, that's the best.
Oh my
Well,
god!
he's
it's got a
always like, I like
motorcycle.
bookmarks. And I'm like, dude, a trading card is a bookmark.
You know, it's a pleasure to know, and this clearly indicates that 80s is not a communist, that he is a member of Team Bookmark, because only staunch capitalists support bookmarks.
There you go.
And
That's
as one of the founding members of Team Bookmark, which is hashtagged, yeah, I support anybody that's part of the team. So good for
Yeah.
him, man.
Okay,
Yeah,
I've been
Aaron,
out of the loop on that. What is the Team Bookmark thing?
It's bookmarks or stickers.
Yeah, we've got a small campaign that we
okay.
put together of bookmarks versus stickers to finally determine which tchotchke is best for campaigns. And bookmarks won out severely on the campaign.
Pretty
But if you're-
handily. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're curious, on IGG, we've Snuggie made. I think he owes over 5,500. So he did really good on it.
Yeah.
So-
Well, especially because those aren't like high dollar things, you know. So that's a lot of backers.
Well, you know, when you're making when your project is a book, I mean, a bookmark helps with that thing. So it's
Yeah,
useful
it
for us.
actually serves a purpose there.
So you know, it's because I've backed some campaigns that had like pins and patches. The patch thing I really don't get, and it's like I've never been a patch person.
No one steal
Maybe-
this, but I'm gonna
Go
look
ahead.
up. I'm gonna get fortune cookies.
Yeah, no.
Right.
So I mean, I can understand the bookmark thing definitely. It's not something you usually find. It's like you're finding something around the house to use as a bookmark. But
No,
if
for
you got
sure.
something, boom. There
Well,
you
and what
go.
we did is we reached out to a bunch of artist friends of ours, and we got man, just a fantastic. Well, it all started off as a pseudo joke that we were kind of doing on the show, and it was bookmarks versus stickers, and who everybody's team bookmark or team sticker, and the generational talent that is Kenneth Rocafort donated. He did a bookmark for us, and so then we're like, oh my god. Kenneth
you
did a
gotta do something
bookmark.
with
Now we have to do a campaign. So we reached out to Shanthan Jetty and Dean James and Shelby Robertson and just a bunch of the other friends of the show. And we got some great bookmarks, and then we're like, oh man, now we got to get great stickers. So we reached out to like Camel Moon and Neff over at Global Frequency, and yeah, just got some awesome stickers, got some awesome bookmarks, and threw the campaign up. And then Phoenix. Animation, man, he really pulled us out. He was able to not just do metal bookmarks, because he does metal bookmarks and metal prints for everybody. He was also finally able to get double-sided metal bookmarks printed. So like Dean's piece is a double-sided. One side is looking into a cave and the other is looking out of a cave, and so that's going to be a sweet piece. And then Shanth did a wraparound bookmark. So it'll be really great that we're able to do that. I'm still a little floored that it's 2023, and we put a man on the moon, but we only just are able to do double-sided metal printed bookmarks. But aside from that, everything's going great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking at that campaign. That's pretty tight work, guys.
Yeah, we were really happy with how it all came together.
Yeah. Lots of really good artists on that. And the concept was fun because you build excitement, you build infighting, which is helpful.
Yeah.
So you got Rocafort. Wow, damn.
Yeah, he's a big friend of the show and just an all-around great human being. So,
All right, I guess maybe I'm out of the loop. What's your show, dude?
Comics Talk on Saturdays, 10 o'clock.
Comics Talk on Saturdays.
Yeah,
Let me
great
go find
show.
that. Let me find that to subscribe in case I have not already.
Great show. They were kind enough to let me launch Unconditional Shove on that channel. So,
Nice.
yeah. Awesome people. Aldous included.
It's
Oh, don't
called
let that
Comics
get
Talk
around.
on Saturdays. Is it on Saturdays? That's Comics Talk.
If you just want to search for LCH Comic Talk Live, and you should see our
Okay.
channel.
LCH. There we go. And I am not subscribed. Goodness gracious. Boom. Remedied.
Hey, thanks, man. While you're on the subscription train, feel free to head on over to Aldous on the Farm, just off Orwell Lane, and get your fill of all of the 1930s, 40s Shadow Radio goodness. I just dropped an episode tonight, for that matter.
And subscribed.
Yes.
Nice profile pic that you got there with the 3D glasses.
It's important.
So you're a
to always-
Shadow fan, huh?
I am a huge Shadow fan. I love everything that Walter B. Gibson did with that character.
Are you familiar with the other Odin, Michael Odin?
Yeah, no, Ogden and I talk quite a bit.
Yeah, because like
We're both
he'll
we're
randomly-
also both big fans of the French Revolution. So
What is- okay. Hold on now. Wait, you're fans of the French Revolution, or
absolutely, Robespierre and Napoleon were fantastic. Were amazing historical figures. I mean, it's pretty rare that you get two people of that tier that like history revolves around within the same era.
Okay, so I still don't quite understand. You're fans of these guys, or fans of knowing about the history around them? We're
both
buff.
fans of Napoleon. I mean, how can you not be? He was a fantastic military commander. He revolutionized society in Europe and France. And Robespierre, you have to respect the man for everything that he did.
I am very happy that Robespierre got what he had coming. So,
Well, we will agree to disagree.
Agreed.
Actually that's my field of educational studies, political science, and I am not a fan of Robespierre or the French Revolution.
I'm a huge fan of both.
Ooh,
But
shots
anyway, but
fired.
Michael Odin will randomly. I'll be talking to him
You're both
About-
fans of him.
something else, and he's like, "Man, the Shadow." I'm like, "Dude, what are you talking about?" He's like, "Well, there's a Shadow comic book, and it was the greatest." And I'm like, "What, dude? How are you finding this stuff?" But he's like, hardcore. Yeah, it's like you mentioned the Shadow. It's like I know that there's probably about 5 people in the world that are such devoted Shadow fans as you and Michael Odin.
Oh no, there's honestly a huge community. I had a listener, a regular listener, one that comments frequently, message me. She shot me an email, and she said, "Hey, I live in this city, and there's an auction going on of a gentleman that was a huge Shadow fan, and his family doesn't know how they're going to get rid of some of this stuff and get like what it's valued at." And what he was in the early 2000s, there, Condé Nast. Let me take a step back. Condé Nast still owns Shadow is not public domain. Shadow is still owned by Condé Nast. Condé Nast has never allowed or permitted anyone to do any kind of a collection of the Shadow newspaper comic that was published from 1940 to 1942. So a group of fans got together and went from, and the comic strip was primarily the Shadow only started on the East Coast. So it was primarily like New York, Maryland, New Jersey, Detroit, a little bit into Ohio, but it was mostly kind of the Northeast. And what these guys did was when the newspaper strip came out 2 years after the Shadow premiered, or 3 years after the Shadow premiered with Orson Welles, it was primarily localized to those papers. So they did a shit ton of research and went from library to library and went through hundreds of pages of microfiche to find as many clean original copies that they could get printed of these comic strips, because Condé Nast won't allow anybody to do anything with them. And they went underground and they did something that really isn't seen too often, and they published it. And there's a really cool story that They weren't able to get the completed work. They were still missing some episodes and or some issues here and there. And a gentleman in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, his mother died, and he was redoing her house to sell it. And he took a wall down and reached into a wall and started pulling out newspapers. And it was of the local newspaper that had never been listed as having the Shadow comic in it. But by him doing that and letting them know, they were able to go to the local library, and they had every missing piece that they needed. They put together a complete book and published it. There's only like 250 to 300 of these in existence, and they are there's no ISBN. They don't technically exist, because if they did, Condé Nast would sue the shit out of anybody.
Right.
But I own one, so thank you very much.
Congratulations.
The Underground Strikes Again.
Well, I mean,
awesome.
when I say I think Odin is a bit strange because he really loves the Shadow movie, like a lot.
Oh yeah, no, that is strange, because that's not very good. It's good because at least the Shadow got a move, but there's the Shadow up until this year, with the release of the Batman. Batman became the character that has more cinematic movies made of him than the Shadow.
Okay, well,
It is
really,
interesting.
there are more Shadow movies than Batman movies.
Absolutely. There's about 7 from 1936.
Serials or actual full feature-length movies?
Technically, 4 of them are short reel serials, but they're still counted. If you take those out of the equation, you still have 5 cinematic Shadow movies of varying qualities. One of them is actually really good. The rest are, I've got a couple of them up on my channel. Actually, I think I've got 2 or 3 of them up.
Okay. Yeah, no, actually, I had hoped that The Shadow would be a good movie back in the day, and it wasn't. But it's funny. Odin went on this you know how Odin can get carried away. 20-minute dissertation about how the bridge scene. This is like greatest Shadow scene. I'm like, okay. Like,
it is. That's actually the best part of the movie, though, is the intro.
And I'm like, yeah, but okay, but anyway, but I'm glad that he's happy.
Well, as a Batman fan, you have to appreciate the Shadow, since the Batman is a direct ripoff of the Shadow.
Is the Batman a direct ripoff of the Shadow, or is Batman a direct ripoff of Zorro?
Well, there's a little bit of both, but it's more the Shadow. The entire first Batman story is Partners in Peril, which is a direct rip of that Shadow story. Interesting
Indeed. Oh boy!
But that was done. That was just done at that time. I mean, Superman's almost a direct rip of, Doc Savage. So
I will watch your videos, dude. Thank you for letting me know about them.
Yeah, most of them are just the radio shows. Occasionally, I go into, a little bit of stuff. Are you? Man, I'm sorry. I listened to a little bit of your DC stuff. I think the last, it's been a while since I listened to it. You had a great series on the 3 Jokers. I remember that vividly. That was really good.
Oh, I had videos on the 3 Jokers that were good.
Pretty sure it was you. Were you talking about it?
No, I did review the 3 Jokers a long time ago.
Yeah, it was 2 years ago. That was the last one that I remember vividly. Because man, I just haven't bought much DC stuff since, and I'm not buying much Marvel DC.
No,
I'm buying a lot of old stuff, and really three Jokers, dude. I can't reiterate that enough too. That One Dark Knight by Jock, really, that was a kick in the teeth. Seeing the interior that Jock produced for that, it just was. That kept me away that's still keeping me away. I'll see stuff on the shelf and go like, no.
What, you're not happy with the art?
I wasn't happy with the art. I wasn't happy with the story.
I thought the story kind of got out of his hands on it.
It was just a miss for Black Label, and I've been a pretty big supporter of Black Label. I thought most of what they've done has been really good. The original Damned series I really liked. I thought it was great. The Question series that they did with Denny O'Neil was fantastic. in Denny O'Neil's Question world, not as a character, not as the Question, the character, because DC still does not understand what Ditko was trying to do. But
Cool. Yeah, I've typically not gotten Black Label because I don't want to spend extra money for basically comic books unless it's something that's a surefire thing for me. And I think a lot of their stuff that they do is just, I think not I'm not really the intended audience. And I think one of the first things that turned me off was like, oh, here's here's Bruce Wayne's dick. Isn't this great? I'm like, no, I'm not the market for Black Label. So,
it's one panel, and
I know, but they made such a big deal about it.
It was so overblown.
But it's like I don't read comics for nudity and gore. That's not my thing. I'm not a fan of The Boys. But this is like, there's obviously a very vociferous market out there for it. I'm just not that market.
But I think taking Damned down to that level of you're doing the opposite of what was done in the media. In that the media was hyping it. You're doing the opposite. Yeah. You're defining the book by one panel. It's one panel.
It's
We're
not that I'm
adults.
defining the book by one panel.
Man took his suit off and there was a shadow of a dick. Ooh, big deal. It was a great story.
Okay, so I'm not reducing it to that. I'm just saying that that's the way it seemed to be marketed to me. And so if this is the way, hey, look at how edgy we are. This is what we're going to do. We're going to include content like this. And this is why it's Black Label. Then that's not something that appeals to me from a standpoint of wanting to buy a book and read it. So
let me ask you this. Are you a fan of Etrigan?
I don't even know what that is.
The Etrigan the Demon?
I, again, don't know what that is.
The character created by Jack Kirby.
I am. The
yellow guy, right?
Okay.
He speaks in rhyme.
What?
He speaks in rhyme.
Yes, I have never actually read The Demon.
Okay.
I know what you're talking about now, but I've never actually.
Are you a fan of Dead Man?
No.
Okay. Are you a fan of The Spectre?
So keep coming, and I'm gonna give you something that I've actually read and heard about. These three.
If you've never read John Osterman's The Spectre, read it, dude. That is a fantastic. You want to talk about DC hitting on every cylinder and why they are better than Marvel? Mm-hmm. That was peak 90s. That was Jim Lee X-Men, and that book it kicks the shit out of anything that Marvel was doing at that time, both in story and in general art. It doesn't blow you away with cover art. It doesn't have the super sexy Art T-Bear inked covers. But man, that book from front to back is better than any X-Men book that was produced after 91. Easy. And that should be on your reading list. You should go back and check that out. And you can get the trades in the omnibus fairly cheap. But check the Spectre out. That was a fantastic run.
So modern age Spectre.
Yes, modern age Spectre. This is Osterman. Man, I think that series started in 89. You have to forgive me. I'm gonna have to actually look that one up. I own most of it.
Yeah. I was just actually reading 0 Hour, and I believe Spectre is in 0 Hour because I think I see him on the cover of it. But
I still don't understand what happened in 0 Hour, and I bought every issue.
Yeah, I like 0 Hour, but I'm right there with you, man. I ended up confused.
Well, go back and read it.
Well, here's the thing: is that I got Absolute Green Lantern Rebirth, right? And actually, I got the Jeff Johns. I have all Jeff Johns Omnis for Green Lantern, and I've read and I haven't read all of them. I've been reading the first part, which starts off with the Rebirth stuff, and I'm like, okay, great, this is all good stuff. But people talk about how great it is, and for me, it's like, well, I'm starting off with this, so I've got a blank slate. So what must have happened here was Green Lantern must have been in the toilet, so I need to read up on what happened that got it to the state that they needed the Rebirth stuff. And so, because I had the absolute edition given to me over the last month, I decided it's like, you know, what I'm going to do is I want to review this, but I want to review all the stuff that led up to it with Hal Jordan going bad and all the stuff with Coast City getting wiped out. And so that's where someone said, well, part of that reading order is 0 Hour. And so I just literally picked up 0 Hour at a bookstore, like a used bookstore. They had the trade for it. And I was just starting reading it yesterday, as a matter of fact. So I will agree with you, J-Bot. I don't know what the fuck is going on with this. This doesn't make any. I mean, they're going back in time. Time's disappearing. I mean, it's like what the hell is going on?
So, the Spectre, the Ostrander series started in '92, and if you can get a hold of it, find that and read it.
Okay.
And then
I will
after you
do it.
read that, you don't have to read Demon, you don't have to read Dead Man, but you have to at least have an understanding of who those characters are, because Etrigan and Dead Man play a role, but the Spectre plays a bigger role in Damned. And Damned is a hell of a good book, and it doesn't get nearly the respect. It was a really good kickoff piece for Black Label. It just the whole Batawang thing just got hyped way out of proportion.
Very funny. So yeah, no, maybe, but I did buy the Jock thing, and so I can appreciate your. I can see why you didn't like it. Although I will say one thing that I like about Jock's art for Batman and why it's my favorite generally, is because I think that the way he renders Batman and Bruce Wayne, I think he captures the spirit of the character artistically, in such a way that no one else quite has done. I mean, lots of people draw great Batman, and yeah, that's Batman. But when I look at Jock's Batman, I feel Batman just looking at the art. You know what I mean? So I feel like
For covers, absolutely. But as far as interiors go, no, I can't agree with that. Because I own one Dark Knight. So.
What about the Batman Who Laughs?
I had not read it.
You should read that. That's where I really fell in love with Jock.
Isn't that written by Snyder?
I think it is.
Yeah,
yes.
there's nothing that man has written that gives me any desire to read anything that he does with Batman. Witches was awful.
Okay, so let me make sure that is Snyder who wrote that. I'm pretty sure it is.
He did Court of Owls. I get that, but I have no desire to read it. It's just he's definitely one of the golden boys of the modern era, but it's pale, man. I'd rather read Alan Grant. I'd rather read Denny O'Neil.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I understand that. The Batman Who Laughs miniseries is phenomenal, and I mean, because it really it's Batman, I think, taken down to the most primal understanding of the character, and it basically
so we're going back to the shadow source.
Well, we're going back to basically the idea that Batman has a contingency plan for everything, and including other Batmen, and so that whole miniseries is about the Batman Who Laughs going to different dimensions, different types of alternate universes, and killing off all the different Batman characters or versions, and then the Batman that we're following in the story is battling several different Batman that the Batman Who Laughs has been bringing through, and it's just a phenomenal series. I cannot recommend it enough. Even if you're not a Scott Snyder fan, which I can understand, I can understand why the critique for it, but there's actually a sequence that is one of the best Batman sequences I've ever seen in one of those issues, where it just really uses that conceit of the fact that Batman knows everything that's happening at all times. It's really ingenious writing. So, but there you go. That's my recommendation. So you read that one, and then I'll go find the Spectre from the 90s.
I'll call that a fair trade. I'm sure I can find the what was it? It was
It's the miniseries. It's 7 issues, I believe. It's the Batman Who Laughs.
Batman Who Laughs. I can
Yes.
probably find a trade of that pretty cheap.
Yeah.
I'll do that for you, man.
Yeah.
And tell you what, if you can't find issue 0 of Spectre, let me know and I'll send it to you.
Oh, that's very sweet. Very sweet of you, man. Very cool. I will look into that. All right, J-Bot, it's your stream. What you want to talk about?
My marker's running out of ink.
The
Like-
drawers went silent.
I'm like, God damn.
Yeah, these markers suck, man. They're dying on me. I'm like, come on, man. I barely used them.
I can talk with Drew for hours, man. We can.
I
we
bet
haven't
you
even-
guys did.
That's why Drew hopped on. I was like, I'm gonna get Aldous on, and they're gonna talk about comics and movies and shit.
We'll sit here and
Well,
draw
what do you
silent.
want us to talk about? You want us to talk about movies? You want us to talk about comics?
It was all part of my master plan.
Oh, either
I will
or.
talk about it. You can even throw out musicals. I'll talk about musicals. You can talk about anything you want me to.
Okay, let's not go that far.
I'm trying to gain subscribers, man.
Well, no, this is that's too late. You're already gone.
It's too late. They
We're
have
way
left.
But you brought up musicals. So the Joker 2 with Joaquin is supposed to be a
Joaquin.
musical. Yeah, whatever. It's supposed to be a musical.
J.O. Quinn.
What's your take on that, Drew? I think it's a positive. I think
I've
I'm
not
looking
heard that. It's a
forward to it.
musical?
It's a musical. Lady Gaga will be playing Harley Quinn.
You're screwing with me.
No, I'm not. No, I am not.
Okay. All right. So you
Go
mean to tell me
for
that
it.
you're
Who cares now? Like, fuck it.
you-
Just do some weird shit. I'm down.
you're Alec
That's
Baldwin, Glengarry Glen Ross. I am not fucking with you.
You know what it takes to sell real estate? Brass balls.
But he never actually says it. Does he actually say? I don't think he actually says brass balls.
He doesn't. He just
So,
holds up the brass.
He just
balls.
holds on. That's why it's so hilarious. That's why it's so perfect. But
Who
God,
am
I love
I?
it.
I
love
drove
it
here
so
in a BMW. You drove here in a fucking Tempo.
You see this watch? See this watch right here? This watch? Yeah, I see it. This watch costs more than your car.
That's not even David Mamet's best film. My favorite David Mamet dialogue moment happens in Spartan with Val Kilmer, where the dude that played oh god, what's his name? He played the dad in I'm gonna have to look this up. But it was the one where Peg was his wife. Is it not Ed Harris?
I know what you're talking about. From Al Bundy, right?
Yeah, Al Bundy. It's the actor
Ed
that played Al
O'Neill.
Bundy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ed
Yeah,
O'Neill.
Ed
The
O'Neill.
president's daughter gets kidnapped on accident. The people who kidnap her don't know who he is, or don't know who they got. And it's fantastic David Mamet writing, because Ed O'Neill comes in and he's running the show. He's talking to like spec ops. He's talking to Secret Service, FBI, and CIA and NSA. He's like, "What's going to happen when her hair grows? When her hair grows and they see it's blonde, they're going to know who she is. What happens then? What happens then?" It's just he doesn't let anybody respond, and it's everybody's standing around dumbstruck because they can't. It's a great fucking moment. Mamet knows how to write.
Yes, it does.
If you haven't seen it, check out Spartan with Val Kilmer.
That's an
highly
underrated
recommend.
Val Kilmer movie.
I've never even heard of that, so I will check it out.
Yeah.
So thanks.
Yeah, exactly.
Andy Contreras says, "Who am I? I'm Spider-Man, Peter Parker." So Peter Parker is like, in Glengarry Glen Ross, right? And he's up there and he's like, always be quipping. Always be quipping. So
Oh, there's a question for you. Are you a Spider-Man fan, Drew?
I am a big Spider-Man fan. That's
Okay,
my channel.
So am
is
I.
Me hate watching or hate reading Spider-Man comics a lot lately. So
All right. So in order, 1 to 3, Maguire, Garfield, and the new guy that we don't talk about. Who are your
Who-
what's your
who are
order?
my favorite Spider-Man?
Tom Holland, that's him.
The actors that play it, or the portrayals of the character.
The portrayals of the character.
Andrew Garfield by a mile is the best Spider-Man cinematic.
Oh my
So-
fucking god, this is gonna be awesome.
No, seriously, no, for real. He's like, and I'll tell you why. Okay, and
Oh,
if you
please
don't
do,
agree,
and I'll tell you why you're wrong.
okay, fine. And Andrew Garfield is an actual actor, unlike Tobey Maguire.
I agree. I
actually-
agree on that point. I
So
fully agree on that point.
when you're talking about the two, and I'm not even going to get into the web shooter versus I'm shooting shit out of my arms.
Nope.
thing.
No, I'm not even talking about. I'm talking about
Um,
portrayal of the character.
And
Well,
go ahead.
let me ask a clarifying question, if I may. Are you talking about the portrayal of Spider-Man or the
Yeah, that's an
portrayal of Peter
important
Parker?
detail.
The question you were posing to me is the portrayal of Spider-Man, and
Okay,
the portrayal of
okay.
Spider-Man.
I
It's
agree
Andrew Garfield.
completely.
Tobey
Absolutely.
Maguire would be much better as the Peter Parker.
Yes,
There you go.
150% agree with you. We are on the same.
Nice.
I agree the same. I was about to
Yeah.
say the exact same thing. Yeah.
Because and Andy brings it in right there with his emo skateboarder cool goth kid with Andrew Garfield skating in and going, "Hey fellow kids, huh, I'm awesome. Look at me, I'm skateboarding and everybody accepts me." Like that was so an anti-Parker moment
It was not Parker.
in the first
yeah.
movie. Parker should always be pushed down, locked in a locker, pantsed, swirlied, constantly just being picked on by Flash, by everybody in school. That's Parker.
Let me ask you this: you obviously are not a fan of Tom Holland as Spider-Man, from what it sounds like.
No,
that correct?
absolutely no. He espouses everything that I hate about modern Spider-Man.
Same,
Okay.
same.
All right. So, did you see the newest Spider-Man film?
I have not yet.
Okay. All right. See, here's because you're bringing up this conversation about who is the best Spider-Man. You need to see this film because of that. And there's a lot of stuff that goes on in it that I think redeems Andrew Garfield's performance, or not necessarily as Spider-Man himself, but as Peter Parker. I think as a Spider-Man fan, and I do like all the movies to an extent. Maybe not Spider-Man 3.
I actually
But-
I like Spider-Man 3. I think
Well, you know,
Spider-Man
by
3.
today's standards, it's pretty good now. I went back and watched it.
yeah.
I'm like,
it's
this is
not,
fun.
Standards, for
By
sure.
today's standards.
by
But-
comparison, but when you compare it to Spider-Man 2, it's a huge letdown. But I think they hit really good tones with Sandman. They fucked Venom.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
I don't. And Topher Grace, bad. Wow, you talk about bad casting. Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. The Spider-Man No Way Home, I think addresses a lot of the complaints that people have about the MCU Spider-Man and the films and Tom Holland. Because one of the big things about Spider-Man has always been the fact that Peter Parker suffers through a lot of adversity and still continues to do the right thing and try to do the right thing. And Tom Holland's MCU Spider-Man, and it's not really even Tom Holland's fault, because I have no problem with the actor Tom Holland, but the way that they've used the character doesn't really allow for a proper portrayal of Spider-Man, front to back to front. And this recent movie addresses a lot of that, and I think leaves the character, the MCU version of the character, at the end of the film where he needs to be to actually finally get to a real Spider-Man film, like a modern one. And so, but it also
it just
go ahead.
takes like 7 movies to get the
Yeah.
character there. We couldn't just write the character the right way the first time. We're gonna do a character progression.
that'd be
where we
way too
actually
well,
get
I mean,
there.
and that's that you can make that argument, but you can also say we're doing 55,000 other characters from the MCU and we're trying to get them all in the same movie. So you're not going to be able to do everybody justice the way you would like it, especially with the business arrangement with Sony and Disney and all that stuff. But as far as if you are a traditional Spider-Man fan, this movie I think is kind of a bit of an appeal to your sensibilities and your understanding of the character, where they say, look, we get it, and here's some of the stuff that you need. And they even addressed a lot of the problems that people had with the way the Garfield Spider-Man went down as far as that series of films. And I think it's phenomenal. I mean, it's one of my absolute favorite superhero films. Actually, I think I might actually put it up as in my top 10 favorite movies, just because there's so many threads that are paid off.
You're talking about No Way Home, or not
No Way Home. No Way Home.
Yeah, No Way Home.
And
I actually enjoyed that one.
Yeah, it was a good one.
and yeah, so the thing is that in another era of films of Hollywood, you would never have seen anything like this. You don't really see an opportunity. Imagine, right? Imagine if Christopher Reeve was still around, right? And they had a film where you had alternate versions of Superman, and they had Christopher Reeve come back in and basically apologize for Superman 3 and 4. And it would be awesome
Well,
because Christopher Reeve is Christopher Reeve. So.
Pump the brakes on that for a minute. Nobody needs to apologize.
Do not come in here and tell me that Superman 3 is a good movie. But go ahead.
It's not, but nobody needs to apologize for it because it has Richard Pryor. So in my life, I got to see Richard Pryor next to Superman. So I don't care what the plot of that movie is. It's got Richard Pryor next to Superman. Win. Yeah. That's a global win. Everybody wins. The plot doesn't matter. The story doesn't matter. There's a movie.
Good night, Andy. Thanks for showing up.
Yeah, out, Andy.
Take it easy, brother.
Later, man. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you again, Andy. You rock, bro.
Andy's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. No Way Home.
AKA Licardo.
It was very good. I feel like you got a lot of payoff with the good characters. I feel like moving forward, I probably will see the next Spider-Man movie that they in this MCU unless they botch it. I'm willing to give them another chance because I feel like it's like, oh hey, he's Spider-Man now. Like that's the vibe that I get. Like he's like, oh, this is the Spider-Man we've been waiting for. Like they had to get him out from under all that Iron Man bullshit and stuff. It's like, okay, this is the Spider-Man that we're getting. He's finally Spider-Man. And I'm hoping they evolve the character because my biggest gripe is the way they had him play Spider-Man is that Peter Parker and Spider-Man were the same person in all the movies. If you met Spider-Man and then you went to school and then you started talking to Peter Parker, you'd be like, dude, you're the same fucking guy.
Correct. No, I agree. Yeah, right. That's where I have my biggest problem with Holland is there's no delta between the two personas. Garfield definitely hit, like Drew said, he hit home runs with the quips and the wittiness and the mouth of Spider-Man. Maguire hit it to a degree, and he's the closest. It's closest to the pin. He wins the car on hole 9 at the turn. But it's still not right. Nobody has hit Parker right.
That's true. Tobey Maguire was definitely the closest for Parker.
I think honestly, you're right that no one has, but then I would say that there's a scene, and J-Bot knows what I'm talking about probably, where Andrew as Peter is trying to get through to Tom Holland's Peter, and that's that scene alone right there is some of the best acting I've ever seen in a superhero film.
It was pretty good.
And also I think really crushes it in how Peter Parker that we know and love from the comics, the good comics, would talk to somebody. And so that's I can't, I can believe that you've not seen it because I know there's a lot of people that just are fucking fed up with the MCU and all that stuff, and especially that. But I
watched Civil War, and the Spider-Man that showed up in Civil War was not my Spider-Man.
No, fully understand.
And honestly, the Spider-Man that showed up was an insult to Ditko. And that's the big one. It's like that's not the character. For the love of God, at least respect the character. You respected the shit out of Captain America with his first appearance. Captain America, the Winter Soldier, in the elevator scene. That's Captain America.
Yep. Yeah. That's probably my favorite MCU movie.
Actually, it's funny that you mentioned that. That is an enduring mystery to me. The miracle of Captain America's portrayal in the MCU.
Isn't it wild that they hit that out of the park and with a guy that doesn't espouse any of those views?
No,
I mean that's the crazy part.
That's the
that's good acting, and that's a credit to him as an actor that he was able to pull that out. And I raised my glass to him, man. Cheers. He did a good job.
Nobody has espoused this the way you're just talking. I felt like I'm the only person on earth that's like, I saw that they were doing Captain America. I'm like, oh my god, this is gonna be. We're gonna take a big steaming shit all over patriotism.
No,
we're gonna
Winter
shit all over the
scene,
country.
the scene,
So-
the elevator scene, and the flag scene. The flag scene is quintessential Steve Rogers.
Well, yeah, but not only that, even the first Captain America film. You know,
But that's what I'm
and then
saying.
how-
The flag, the grenade in the first Captain America film, that's quintessential Steve Rogers.
Oh yeah.
You know, and then he gets his powers, and then everything thereafter, they've always done a good job with Cap. And that's when you watch the videos on YouTube where it's Endgame and Thor and Thor's hammer goes into Cap's hands, and you hear the people cheering. They're cheering because they love Captain America.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
up to that point, they have done such an exceptional job of building that character up. And I understand having to do what they did and kill him off. That's fine. But man, they did such a good job with that. And they missed on Hulk. They did a really good job with Iron Man, but they missed on Hulk. They missed on Spider-Man. And I don't understand how you can write Cap so well with an actor that is so anti that position and miss on Banner, because Banner seems like so easy compared to Cap. Cap's hard. Banner's easy.
No, you're right. And you know,
Do you think that any of the Hulk movies didn't Banner any justice?
Edward Norton, I thought, did a pretty decent job.
I think that's
he's
true.
my favorite. He's my favorite Hulk.
I actually like
that's
the.
a
I
low
don't remember
bar,
the actor's
man.
name, but I like the one before that.
Oh, Banner.
Banner.
Banner, yeah. Like.
Yeah, but I mean that's a totally different era of superhero filmmaking, and
That is true.
And
I still like that movie, and everyone shits on it, and I've always liked it.
Well, it's a bit of a boring movie, honestly, to tell you the truth. I mean, for a movie that's got a green guy throwing tanks around, it's kind of a drag. So, in my personal opinion,
no doubt about it. But
isn't Jennifer Connelly in that though?
Yes,
yeah,
I think
yes,
she
she
is.
is.
Sam,
So that automatically makes it a great movie for me.
That makes it a 2-star movie over a 1-star movie.
And right there, boom.
It'd be a 4-star movie, but unlike what's the name of the film? She's not riding a mechanical horse in Target. So.
Oh yeah, which one was that?
Job something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know I've seen that.
What
the
movie?
image is like currently in my brain, but.
You know, one of the things that I like about Captain America's portrayal is like even in Infinity War, right? Where Scarlet Witch and Vision are getting their asses kicked by Thanos flunkies there, and the train comes through, and then the characters can sense the presence of something else, right? And everybody's like, "What could this be? Who could this be?" And it's just Steve Rogers, and he doesn't really have any superpowers. He's just a really strong dude, but the respect that he commands, just by the look that he has, and I'm like going, damn it, this is an example of why they crushed that character so hard, is that he commands instant respect just showing up. So everybody knows something's gone down now because Captain America is here to take care of shit. So. But yeah, he's my favorite character in the MCU by a long shot, and I am the happiest surprises of all for me is that. But yeah, Winter Soldier is one of my favorite MCU movies. Totally.
Yeah, Winter Soldier is hard to argue with. That's one of the best.
I feel like you finally got the Cap action that you.
Oh yeah,
been waiting for
that too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Part of it.
That whole highway scene. Oh shit, dude.
Because I mean, from what I understood and what I always thought was that Captain America and just in Marvel in general is supposed to be the best, if not one of the best, hand-to-hand guys like around.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's been doing it for 100 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
well, he was frozen for a while.
Well, yeah.
Okay. He's still a badass.
Absolutely, and that's one of that action scene there. That actually, I mean, can you think of a better fight scene in a superhero film than that
Civil
one?
War? where it's Winter
the
Soldier
breakout scene?
Cap, yeah, Winter Soldier, Cap, and against Iron Man.
Iron
That's
Man.
pretty fucking good.
That
Where
was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
they're passing the shield back and forth while they're fighting. That's good choreography.
That was pretty cool. My favorite
Well,
was Thor versus Hulk at the original Avengers movie. But
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. But you're
it's
right.
like
When
watching the Hulk try to pick up Mjolnir and like digging into the
That was
ground,
hilarious.
he's trying to pick it up so hard. That shit quick.
That was hilarious. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. But again, in Endgame when he does pick up the hammer, it's one of the greatest moments in all of the genre of superhero
Oh no,
films.
they did a really good job building up to that moment.
Yeah.
And you had to know that moment was always coming, but it defines the character, and it's a great send off moment.
For sure.
You're asking me my opinion about the Joker musical. I did not hear about it, but no, that's my opinion. My opinion
Really?
is no.
I
I
think it'll really work.
I
What's it
wasn't
like-
a big fan of Joker. Yeah, and I know a lot of people were, but I'm like, this is not.
It's not
the
a Joker movie. It's
That's
not
the
Joker.
point.
Right.
That's the whole point.
It's a 19. It's a period piece that has a character that's they're just calling it Joker, but no, I think it'll work for the semblance of what they're doing as far as a sequel, what they did with one. But is it a
Joaquin-
reference to the DC character? No, absolutely not.
Joaquin is Joker like Car Voltron is Voltron. No, it's just not. That's not Voltron. I don't give a shit what company bought what TV show or anime. That's not Voltron. So anyway, so people, what do you think about Gunn doing DC stuff?
I'm surprised that's the one they picked.
I
Are
can't
you-
believe
are
they're going forward with the Flash shit, dude.
Well, here's the thing about that. That's the reason I bring this up, because someone was like, people are giving Gunn so much shit about things that he has no control over, and I don't think he has any control over whether or not they're going to release this Flash movie.
They can't shelve Batgirl and Flash in the same year. Well, actually,
Yeah.
no, it's a different year now, so they could shelve Flash.
Well,
but that's a
Flash
hell of a
cost-
write-off, man. You're talking
that-
650 million, 750 million.
That's a huge film, and it's like it's a business decision at this point, I think, for them, that they're just going to have to release it and take their lumps as far as what it means for the actual idea of superhero movies for DC. But people are like all jump into conclusions about, oh well, this means that Ezra Miller is going to be the Flash and James Gunn's thing. Like I don't know if that's the case. That movie could come out and be like Black Adam and bomb. And do you think that they're going to include that in DC Studios? Fuck no, they're not. So they're going to.
How sad is it that have you watched Black Adam?
I have not actually seen Black Adam. No.
Okay,
I saw it. I thought it was kind of fun. I didn't mind
I
it.
watched it. I totally disagree with you, man. That is a shit. That is a shit heel of a film. Here's my problem. When I watch your movie that's named Black Adam, I should want to see more of your character. That's the title character. I could give a shit if The Rock ever puts on that costume again. What I want more Pierce Brosnan, and I want
that was
more
great.
I want more Hawkman.
Hawkman.
Give me those two guys. Fuck the Atom. Fuck whatever the other people were. Like, I want more Hawkman of that guy, because he did a good Hawkman.
He did.
And I want more Dr. Fate with Pierce Brosnan. That needs to happen fucking now. Like, I need a Pierce Brosnan movie. Like, what are you doing? Why is that not already in production? How are you so off kilter that you watch that film and go, oh yeah, that kind of resonates? Like, no, he hit every note of a B-list character, and I know mainstream people that don't even read the books that went like, yeah, that dude was cool. Like, make movies, man. No.
Well,
Yeah,
I'll have to check it out for that reason alone.
Cool. Let me
exactly.
defend myself then. Well, I mean, not necessarily, but I liked the Justice Society. I thought it was a nice like rebooting, jumping off point. I liked the action they had Black Adam do it, because I felt like they always kind of held back with how powerful and how cool and the cool stuff that Superman can do, and you kind of get to see it in Black Adam. I feel like they never really show that in the DC movies, the late the Snyder ones and all that stuff. Could I care if he was Black Adam or if Black Adam showed up again?
No. But I liked everything that was surrounding it in terms of like, I feel like just the inclusion of the Justice Society, and when they showed up, I felt like they already established this world that existed that we haven't seen yet, of like the older superheroes, and like with Dr. Fate and Hawkman. I want to see more of those guys, and I want to see more of that.
Yeah, we clearly need a Red Tornado film.
Red Tornado. What the hell's that?
Dude, I love Red Tornado.
Red Tornado is awesome. No,
I never read him in a book, but you know what I mean?
Facetious and have an asshole.
Well, it sounded facetious, but I'm like, I don't even know who that is.
He's an android that like spins his lower half and fucking makes tornadoes and shit. It's like so cool. It's like, dude,
your DC bona fides are being questioned.
Oh, I never liked DC. So I always thought, well, and it goes back to being a kid. I just thought that the character seemed corny, and I didn't like him.
Well, Drew brought it up earlier. Like, DC increased their cost of a book by $1. And you can buy 5 Marvel books for the price of 4 DC books.
Right.
The last time that happened was, and Drew is welcome to correct me, but I believe it was the early 70s, right after Kirby came over. And that was one of the reasons why the Forever People and New Gods it all failed, was they were 5 cents higher than
more
Marvel.
Expensive. Oh.
So
yeah. No, you're right. You're 100% right. That people don't realize back in the 70s and when Marvel and DC, they were really going at it, and they were like taking shots at each other. Like it's kind of funny. You don't realize it now because you walk in a comic shop and you're like, whatever, I'll just buy this book and that book and that book. Back then it was like cutthroat. It's like, no, you're buying Marvel, or no, you're buying DC. It's like one or the other. Like Dad has given me a nickel to buy one.
Right. Well, you were also only 4 years. If you're talking early 70s, you're only 4 years away from Atlas/Marvel still had the publication deal with DC where they were only allowed to publish so many titles. That's why early Marvel titles, you've got so many duplicates. Like when you're talking about like Journey into Mystery or Strange Tales, that there's 2 stories. And they're highlighting multiple characters just because they were solicited by DC. So they would publish their own books, but they were solicited by DC. So, and DC only allowed them 8 books. So you got 8 books every month that you could put on the shelf. And so they're double stacking characters to get you interested before they split off and finally did their own thing. But that was a huge moment in the late 60s, early 70s when they finally did that. And DC was always higher in price, and that was Infantino. He was pushing it, and that it was a coup, man. They were promoting Kirby coming over for months before Kirby came over. And then it landed like a wet fart because nobody got New Gods at all.
And I've got the Fourth World Omnibus, which I'm reading, and it's such a shame because he's so far ahead of his time.
He is, man. Well, Kirby. So when Kirby came over, Kirby's position was he did not want to do floppies. He wanted to do 48-page graphic novels quarterly released. That's documented. That's what his position to Infantino was. He said the floppy is dead. There's no point in doing this anymore. We're losing all the newsstand market. It's dying. We need to go to the European model, which at the time was quarterly. And he wanted to do everything quarterly. And Infantino said, no, you're going to be doing this. And this is your contract. And he was making more than he could get at Marvel after Goodman. But it was, God, man, the dude was doing 12 pages a fucking week.
So, and, it's funny
12 fucking pages. And you can see it. If you've got that omnibus, man, you can see the quality dipping. You can see pages that are just like, oh, and some are fucking amazing. And then there's others that are just like, man, he phoned that fucker in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it's not incorrect. It's not an unfair assessment. but I'm like reading this, and the thing that pisses me off about it is because it's such a missed opportunity. Because here you've got Jack Kirby, who's literally a god in the industry.
Absolutely,
And
he's
they-
King
they
Kirby
were-
for a reason.
They're treating him like shit at Marvel, right? And then DC
Well,
makes this big coup, and they're going to bring him over. They're going to pay him more money.
Saying they treated him like shit is not nearly. They gave Stan a shit ton of money to stay on when Goodman sold, and they gave Kirby said, well, what do I get? And they gave him a fucking pittance. They said, well, fine, fuck you, I'm leaving. And they said, fine, bye.
Oh yeah.
And so he went to DC, and DC
100%.
DC didn't give him a fucking windfall. Like, it was like a little bit more than what Marvel was making. The man never made the fucking money he could have made. It's and then, man, the worst part is, in like fucking 8 years after the time period we're talking about, he's relegated by Marvel to drawing like fucking bullshit comics that go in He-Man fucking action figures.
Right.
Yeah.
They just Jack gets fucked over every from 71 on. It's just Jack getting fucked over, and guys like Stan that into the 90s and 2000s fuck over guys like Lin Wein and Mike Friedrich over ownership issues. While Stan's living large and making millions. You know, Mike Friedrich and Lin Wein are dying, literally dying in convalescence homes with no money, getting sued by Marvel while they're doing it. Sorry, I'm a little passionate about that.
Yeah. So back to the
Kick
DC
their ass.
fiasco, because I want
They
to
were
focus
treated
on this for
horribly.
a second. You've got Jack Kirby coming over, and they did give him a significant raise over Marvel. Maybe not a windfall or anything like that, but Infantino has Kirby come over, and I'm thinking, man, here we got the guy who basically invented 60% of Marvel's thing that they're living off of right now, right? And he's got all these massive hits, created Fantastic Four, all this stuff, and then they say, okay, what book do you want? And he said, and Jack Kirby is such a badass that he says, I'm not going to take work from people that are working on your big things. Give me your shittiest book. And they give him Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen.
Wow.
And he says, fuck it,
Yeah.
I'll write this. And so here's Jack Kirby, the king, legitimately the king, writing the dumbest comic you could possibly think of for DC and just going to town with it. And you know what these fuckers do? They erase his Superman head and have somebody else redraw Superman's face because
In
it
his
didn't
first
fit the
issue
house
back,
style.
His
And I'm like,
first
are you
issue,
kidding me?
Nothing
Oh my
like
God.
fucking with the king, man.
And it's horrifying from a standpoint of myself as, you know, a non-professional creator but appreciator of this stuff. I it's like it's beyond the pale. It's so hard for me to comprehend being that stupid. And it's executives are gonna executive. It's the same people that are screwing up films these days with these properties, and they were operating back then, not giving a damn about the art of what was going on, thinking that people were just going to buy comics because they're going to buy comics, not paying attention to why comics were being bought in the first place. So, but anyway, but yeah, no, this fourth world is it's like a Greek tragedy. Reading it and seeing the brilliancy of this man back in a time that is, I mean, he was so far ahead of his time.
Fourth World is fucking biblical.
Oh yeah,
Because
absolutely.
it's hitting on all of the it's hitting on all of the themes. Kirby was a man ahead of his time because he understood, and you got to remember where Kirby came up from. He's doing romance comics and anything he can get, any work he can get, he's doing that through the 40s. So he's, after he gets out of the military, he's doing everything he can to just keep things rolling, but he's always focused on sequential storytelling. and not comic sequential storytelling, because guys like Alex Raymond are already fucking owning that with Flash. And what Flash Gordon's doing is groundbreaking in this era. He's looking to build upon that. He's looking to make it better than that. And what he accomplishes with everything he does at Marvel is amazing. But Fourth World, man, the first half of Fourth World is phenomenal. I can't compliment that enough. And I know Drew sounds like he's in the same boat. That is just awesome. The issue then becomes at a certain point is the man is so overworked and he's so pushing it that the second half of Fourth World becomes, I really don't know what I'm doing. I'm lost now. Like the art is good, but I'm lost. I've had no time to focus my writing.
Yeah.
That could very well be, and I've not gotten that far into it because I'm just savoring each page and each panel as I'm reading it. And like I was just reading this issue where they're fighting a giant Jimmy Olsen, right? And then they get knocked out by some kind of gas, and then they find tiny little guys in Jimmy Olsen's hair. And I'm thinking, I think Jack Kirby wrote this book straight out of what he was dreaming the night before, and said, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna put my dream on the page, and I'm gonna call it a day, because it is so out of control, bizarre, the stuff that he's doing, and but he knows how to make it work somehow, and it's just it's a tour de force in world building, and I think if you create comics, if you write comics, it should be required reading, in my personal opinion, because it will give you so much inspiration to see what he was doing at this time, and nobody gave him the time of day. It's such a tragedy. It really is.
Yeah, well, I need to check it out because I'd never have. But and whatever, circa what?
It's 1972, I think, was when he was doing this.
Early 70s.
Yeah, because he's got Darkseid. These major space DC characters that are always in the background in DC Comics these days.
Yeah.
These are the characters that build a foundation for the entire universe. You can't really have a cinematic universe of superheroes without a space component to that, which is always going to be the most important motivation for all the characters ultimately. I mean, hell, you've got a fucking Green Lantern Corps, right? Yeah. So you've got these space cops. Well, what are the space cops going to be dealing with? Well, how about this like godlike character that's a villain that everybody's terrified of? Jack Kirby creates that for them. They didn't have it prior to that, and they're the space Keystone cops without any kind of serious threat to deal with. But anyway, that's
when Darkseid first appeared.
Oh yeah, he created Darkseid. Darkseid's first appearance is in Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen. It's hilarious. And it's actually not that expensive a book. So you can, if you want to find Darkseid's first appearance before someone finally gets him right in a movie, and it becomes super expensive. Right now, it's pretty affordable.
Oh yeah, which I would hope they would. Like, I didn't know much about Darkseid, like I said, not being a DC guy, but I always thought he seemed like a...
Well, the whole Fourth World was originally going to be for Marvel. It was going to be something that filled out Thor, and an antagonist and kind of like a filling in of the universe for Thor, the character. And then Marvel was basically telling Kirby to go fuck himself, and so he said, fine, I'll just go to DC. And he was already working out in California at that time, so he wasn't like having to deal with dodging people going to different offices. So they just called him up and said, yeah, we'll pay you, you can come over and draw whatever you want. And it sounded like a good deal. I would have done it at the time myself too. And but that's where he brought basically what would have been for Marvel for Thor, and just made it DC's space opera a component. And again, if you want to understand DC,
then when he went back to Marvel, he did it better with Eternals.
True. So, but yeah, no, absolutely. I cannot recommend Fourth World enough. You know, it's not gonna be people
The
aren't gonna.
omnibus is gonna run you like $200.
I got mine for like 120. So I don't know if it's out of print now.
Yeah,
Oh, which one did you get?
I got the new version of it.
Yeah, that's like 120 to 150. If you want the version I would the print version I would recommend is about 200, and it's man, it's got probably 50 pages of just essays in the beginning of what it means. And it's by a bunch of people. It's awesome. It's a fantastic collection.
Well, that will be on the list for sure. That's something I need to delve into more.
Yeah, I never really got into Kirby that much, but now looking at his stuff, you know, I could appreciate it at the time. You know, I was all about like, you know, Liefeld and Silvestri and Jim Lee and all that stuff. You know, not understanding.
But those guys gave their props to them for sure. I mean, they were like Kirby all the way, man.
They're standing on the shoulders of giants. I'll tell you what, man.
Yeah. And they knew it, but like, they're also going to ride the wave that they're on. You know, they're not going to turn it down.
Well, they're not bad creators or average creators by any stretch of the imagination. They're all fantastic. So
I think that was the thing, though. They were tributing Jack Kirby when I was a kid, and I was picking up image stuff, and I was like, "Oh, this Kirby guy, I gotta check it out." And then I was like, I just couldn't get it. I didn't get it. Part of that is just being spoiled, and not knowing. But sometime later in life, I'm like, what did I not get? How did I not get it?
Well, you're not going to get it because, you know, when say you're coming of age and you got McFarlane's Spider-Man, right? And that's all the sex. That's all the sex. And you look at Kirby stuff and you're like, oh, this is boring and this is lucky. You have to look at it, the context of it, the time that it came out, and then compare it across that era. Like, you know, I mentioned this earlier in the stream. Citizen Kane is considered one of the greatest films ever made. But if you go back and watch it from a modern perspective, you'll say, why is this important? Why this is just a slow movie. But you don't realize that all the things that you see every day in every form of audiovisual entertainment, a lot of it was based upon techniques that were first used in that film.
Exactly.
Well, even to go beyond that, like Fritz Lang with Metropolis, what Lang's doing with, or even M, man, like
damn,
a lot of what you see in M is rehashed in Lang and Citizen Kane with regards to, you know, the German expressionist form of angle, and especially the Dutch angle. The Dutch angle at the end of Citizen Kane is phenomenal, with where the glass falls out of his hand. It's a quintessential part of American cinema, but yet it's influenced by the German expressionist style.
Yeah, and to that point, like a young person watching film, how many times have they seen a Dutch angle and don't realize it's
done correctly? Well, most people don't even know what a Dutch angle is. So,
well, yeah, they don't know it, but it's like breathing at this point for films and commercials. Yeah, I mean, it's like everybody uses it, and it just had never been used at that time. And even in the different plot points and different stories being told interchangeably was another component of it. People are like, oh, Pulp Fiction's so great. I'm like, Pulp Fiction did the same thing that Citizen Kane did. And again, because they had gotten away from it, people were like blown away when they saw it again. So, but yeah, that's kind of like the same thing with Kirby in the comics. So,
yeah. Well, I always joke that Kirby invented space for comics.
That's that Kirby Crackle. I would say that's a fair assessment.
Like nobody does space the same way since he came around. Yeah, it's like, damn, that's so cool looking.
And everybody has to try it. Like, okay, we all got to try it.
And once you do, you love it. I'm like, heck, you not.
Well, yeah, no, I've actually incorporated it in my dark matter radiation effect that I'm doing in my book. Mm-hmm. So it's like, bitch, this is gonna have some Kirby Crackle in it. So
Yeah.
it's the only way. That's my personal homage to his just astounding genius.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Every time we use it. But yeah, it, you know, nobody really renders like he did anymore. But it's still like it added an influence that never left. Because I think it was
that's
kind of a mixture of that and like hatching and stuff. But he never used hatching, like hardly ever.
well. There's not too many people that still draw physical anymore. So
Well,
there's a difference there, and you're getting a lot of people. There's brushes that do the work that all those fantastic inkers of the 60s and 70s did.
yes.
And those same people that will use those brushes are, you know, they're the first people that are clarion calling the anti AI art. It's just ridiculous. It's AI art is only good if we can use it, but if we can't use it, then it's bad. It's
Yeah. I think
it all leads down into a nefarious nest of, you know, bullshit. But
well, I never want to be like techno fear person, but it's one of those things. Like I don't do digital just because I feel like an old man who doesn't want to mess with it.
oh yeah, old man yells at cloud for sure.
Yeah, I'll yell at the cloud. Called AI art. But I could see the value in it as well. But I see the danger in it too. And I think it's mostly in the, you know, as long as there's regulations on it, as far as copyrights and stuff, then it's fine.
Well, it depends on the AI art, because you've got AI art that directly copies, and you've got AI art that learns the same way you learn as an artist.
Right.
And so, how can you call the two the same? Because they're not. How one is doing something is there's a delineation that needs to be drawn. And while I don't think that anything that's produced by AI should be copyrightable, it becomes a slippery slope of, well, they're still creating unique original positions, and where do you draw that line?
That is
Is
a good
something
point.
that is something that's done with computer-aided design. If you're using Photoshop and you're using certain brushes, that's computer-aided design. There's an algorithm behind that.
Oh yeah. Well, I use CAD every day, and
Right.
Okay,
yeah,
so
much
there's
stuff that they used to do manually. I mean, it takes 2 seconds now.
Okay, so here's my take. I've actually here's a big scoop for your JBot, because I've not mentioned this or talked about this anywhere else. Because I just saw the AI controversy recently.
Feel privileged.
So here you go. Here's a debut of Drew's hot take on this. AI art is basically like someone commissioning somebody else to do the art for them, and it is not authentic art in that sense of the word. I think if you want it basically what's like it's like doing a CGI version of a late actor's portrayal. So we're going to put John Wayne in a beer commercial.
Right.
And is John Wayne really acting in this beer commercial? Of course not. He's not. That's a computer generated version of the of that person. And so to me, you know, if I'm buying art, if I'm buying like a comic book, am I going to buy AI generated comic art? If I've got an option to like buy something else that's done by a traditional artist, even using different digital tools, then no, I'm going to go with the traditional artist. The difference between like CAD and Photoshop and stuff like that, you're not using artificial intelligence to create art.
The hell you're not.
Oh no! Oh, you disagree? You think Photoshop's the same thing?
Dude, if you're using certain brushes within Photoshop, absolutely, you're using an interpretive algorithm to determine how something is laid down, whether it's ink, whether it's a texture. If you're doing clouds and you're using the cloud brush, that's an algorithm, my friend. That's a program that somebody wrote. That's AI. By the definition,
that is not artificial intelligence.
Yes, it is.
An algorithm is not.
An algorithm is the basis of AI. AI is a series of algorithms.
But somebody wrote the algorithm, and somebody created when they have these brushes, people.
So
create the
are you
brushes.
willing to tell me that a pencil is artificial intelligence because a pencil uses basically a physical algorithm to transfer graphite to a surface?
Yeah, I don't view
That's
any difference
that's
between the two.
ridiculous.
I don't
No,
view any
no.
difference between
Okay,
the two
okay.
because
It-
one is a physical algorithm that was developed and manufactured by somebody else. Look, here I'm going to take it to the nth degree. We're just going to jump to the end of where this discussion comes from. I saw when digital inking became the standard, I didn't see a whole lot of people standing up and crying foul. When digital lettering became the standard, I didn't see anybody standing up and crying foul. Now I see a lot of artists standing up and crying foul because now they're on the line, because pencilers and inkers are on the line and colorists. Oh my God, guess what? I don't give a shit because you didn't stand up and say anything. If you can show me history that you gave a shit when letterers and inkers were getting called out, and their work's being done automatically by Wacom tablets and by Photoshop, then maybe I'll give you a little bit of leeway. But either way, you're not going to stop it. The movement's going forward. If you want to beat AI art, be good, be really good. And if
But
you're
it's,
good, you'll always be better.
Okay,
because
so-
That's totally not the
so
same
everything
thing.
that you
though.
just said is stupid.
you want to go?
And
Okay,
I'm gonna drop some truth bombs on you right now. Okay, all right. Using a tool to help you achieve something that you were otherwise trying to do and gives you less labor to do it is not the same thing as
That's the same thing as
generating.
AI
No,
art.
no. It is not.
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
No,
so a letterer.
So I
okay,
don't
no,
think
no,
you
no.
understand.
Stop.
I don't
No,
think
no,
you
no,
understand
I
what
understand
AI art
exactly.
is. There's two
no.
different kinds of AI art. There's one kind of AI art that will directly reference your art as an artist based off of keyword reference and will utilize that. And that is bullshit because that is stealing. The other kind of AI art is an adaptive form of learning art that will base off of keyword association, a direct reference of what it interprets you saying. That's totally different.
That's
It's-
two different
it's-
ways of doing the same thing. That is
No,
also
it's not. There's a huge difference between the two. One is a direct rote copy, and one is another. It's no different how you learn as an artist.
So then you can have AI. So then there's nothing wrong with AI than artists using AI to write stories for them then.
Yeah, absolutely. Why would there be?
Because they're doing the AI is doing the work for them.
So how is that any different than a brush or a pen? It's
Because
the same
you
thing.
have to, because
It's
the
no
artist
different-
has no,
no
because the
different than
artist has to
auto-generated-
wield
all
the
right,
brush.
Aldous,
It's
Aldous,
no
you have to
different
shut the
than
fuck up so
auto-gener-
people can
it-
answer you.
The
it's-
You're
artist
not
no-
letting
has to.
people answer you.
The
Let them
artist
answer.
no
has
different
to
than
wield the
auto-generate-
brush.
It's
You-
no
somebody-
different than auto-generated code. It's no different than auto-adaptive lens adjustment in a camera.
So then
It's
by
no
your
different
logic,
than weld adjustment on a welding robot.
so then
It-
by
it's-
your logic, you don't know nothing about Photoshop. I can give you Photoshop and it will do it for you.
No, I'm using an algorithm. I'm
But
using
you
a
have to
program,
use the Photoshop, is what I'm saying.
right.
That's
I
the
still
difference.
have. I still have.
That's the
I
difference
still have to
between
tell. I
Photoshop.
still have to tell the algorithm what I want.
Yeah,
That's
but
not
you
a
don't.
problem.
You're not physically having to manually manipulate the layers and the
I
colors.
physically. I don't
And
need. I
you don't
need
have to do that. All you have to do is say, "Okay, program, I want a girl by an ocean, and the sky is going to be blue." And the AI art's going to do it for you, to where an artist has to physically use Photoshop. That is the difference, and it is a game changer, and it is a totally
disagree.
different than you shoveling your
It's no
driveway and
It's
going
no
boop, boop,
difference.
boop, and have a machine shoveling your
It's no
driveway.
different than me saying I want a girl by an ocean with a sunset, and you going, huh, and googling girl by an ocean with a sunset and using that as any kind of reference. If it's an adaptive learning form of AI, if it's
No, the difference is I would physically look at that reference and I would do it, to where what you're talking about is you would rip it, post it, and be like, "Here's
Okay,
my
well-
picture. I got it from Google."
Let me ask you this question: what kind of shoes do you wear? Do you wear tennis shoes?
New Balance, yeah.
Okay, so your tennis shoes are not sewn by a human being; they're sewn by a machine. Does that make your shoes any less of a shoe?
No.
Okay.
But
So an algorithm,
Are you saying that? Oh wait,
So
are
who
you saying
designed the
art
shoe?
that
is
was
like a
that
shoe?
was, that was set.
Somebody had to make the shoe.
Okay, that shoe
Who
was
made
designed.
the shoe? Who
That
made the
shoe was
shoe?
designed by CAD. That shoe.
Who
That shoe
used
was
CAD?
designed by
Who used
CAD
CAD?
just opened
they
up and
they
designed the shoe by
inputted what
itself.
they wanted to design, and
But who
it was
used
given a
CAD?
rough outline.
Did a robot just use CAD, or did somebody say, I'm going to design the shoe and I'm going to use CAD to make the shoe? That's the difference. The difference is that a machine, you say, I want a shoe. The machine makes the shoe for you. The other thing is that somebody designs the shoe and puts it in CAD, and then it gets manufactured. There's a big difference because
No,
you still
there's
have to
not,
have
man.
somebody knowing what they're doing using
Look,
the
Hey,
if you're a
program.
good
J-Bot,
sequential
J-Bot,
artist,
let me-
you've
let me-
got
let me
no
ask a question.
threat. You've got zero
Aldous,
threat from AI.
Let me ask you a question. Aldous, this is a legitimate, honest question. Are you trolling us right now?
No, man, I don't see any issue.
This is
I
not
don't.
trolling.
No, I'm
Okay,
being fully honest. I don't troll when I'm talking.
Okay.
This is my
All right,
honest
all right.
opinion.
So
I don't see any issue
okay.
because I don't see any difference between this and any other form of automation that's being done in modern society. Whether
Okay.
it's welding, whether it's automated sewing, whether it's automated design, I don't see any I don't see any delta. There's no delta in this equation.
Okay, so you okay, so what the implications of what you're saying here is that you believe or you see art as just another assembly line product like a car. Is that how you view
Yes,
art?
but well, there's art in a car. There's art in the design of a car, and for 20 plus years we've used.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Let me finish because we have used. You want to talk about art? People talk about cars are beautiful. The design is beautiful. That is aesthetically pleasing to me. I look at that car and I think that car is the best car I've ever seen. We have, for over 20 years, we have been using computers and algorithms and artificial intelligence on a very basic level to design cars.
Aldous,
so
how many Mona
there
Lisas are there?
Like
there
there's
is
no
nothing.
car.
There is
Aldous,
nothing. There is nothing.
Aldous,
There is
Aldous,
no. There is no
Aldous,
difference between a
Aldous,
1965 Mustang
Aldous,
and
Aldous.
Aldous,
Jack Kirby's
Are you
design
listening?
work.
Are you listening?
I am. You don't have to say my
Okay.
name. Let me finish.
Stop talking. Stop talking. Stop talking. All right. I'm trying to ask you a question. How many Mona Lisas are there?
How many Mona Lisas are there?
How many Mona Lisas are there?
There's one painting.
Okay,
With an
that's it.
infinite
That's
amount
it.
of
That's
online.
That's it. There's
Copy.
one Mona Lisa.
Yes.
How many Ford Mustangs are
1965
there?
Mustangs are there?
Thousands. of
Yeah,
them.
absolutely.
Because
Does that
they're
make
a
one
product.
more than the other?
They are a product. They are not a piece of art. They're
Whoa,
not
whoa,
a
whoa,
work
whoa,
of
whoa,
art.
whoa! Are you telling me that a 1967 Shelby GT Mustang
Yes, I am.
silver is a product and not a piece of art? Because I know 15 guys right now that are gearheads that would totally disagree with you. So
But they're
I would
not-
argue that it's subjective.
Okay, they're wrong.
No, they're not
Okay.
wrong. It's
They're not
subjective.
wrong.
Okay,
That's a
They're not
beautiful
wrong.
piece of art.
That is art.
Oh, okay, Aldous.
The 1967
The point-
GT Shelby Mustang is a
It
piece
is,
of
but there's only
fucking
one
art.
Mona Lisa. There isn't one manufactured Shelby made by one fucking dude who made
Okay,
one
well,
fucking
there's
Shelby that
okay,
totally
well-
exists, and people don't travel the world to see that.
Okay.
So by your
there's
logic, if
10,000
I
there's
put, so then by your
10,000
by your
copies of
logic,
Spawn number
it's-
one.
but by your
Is that
logic, it's
not
not art because it's not art because if I could have a machine make it, what's the big fucking
Okay,
deal?
a machine made Spawn number one.
No,
a guy
a machine
drew
didn't
it
make
and
Spawn
it
number
produced
one.
it.
No, Todd McFarlane made
replicated it.
Tom.
You're owning a
Spawn number
replicant
one
of it.
because without Todd McFarlane, there wouldn't be Spawn number one. Without
So
Leonardo,
the only
there
thing
wouldn't
that
be the
has
Mona
value
Lisa.
are the original drawings. It's not the reprints. All the reprints don't have value. Because that's what
No,
you're saying.
not
If it's
compared to-
produced,
not
it has
compared
No,
no
to
value.
what I'm
original
saying
art.
is that what your argument with AI is, and this is, you let me know if I'm wrong, is that you're saying that if I went to a computer and I said, so what Todd McFarlane did and all the artists, that shit doesn't matter, because once a computer can replace you, the artistry and the creativity doesn't matter, because any Joe Blow with the AI can go, hey, and granted, let me say that I'm not threatened by AI. My argument that it's not art, because it takes a creativity
it'll never supplant
do
art.
it.
I completely agree with you. True
But
artists
you're
will never be
comparing that
supplanted
if
by it.
you go and you say, I want a girl by an ocean by a lake, and you get the AI makes you that image, and then you grab that image and you print it on the canvas, you're saying that is the same thing than me going to the ocean or grabbing a reference and physically painting it myself. You're saying that it is the one-to-one thing, and it is
I'm
not.
saying it's entirely up to the consumer, because I'm a firm believer in the market. And if the market thinks that, then yeah. But I don't give a shit.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, I the consumer can think that, but the consumer is not always right. And basically, there's a difference here between when you're looking at art as like a
There'll always be a
commercial
market
endeavor.
for human art.
Yeah, if you're looking at art like it's a commercial endeavor, like we're going to print out widgets and do fine prints and stuff like that, that's one thing. Okay. But people that are pissed off about the AI thing, what they're trying to say is that
Most of the people that are pissed, I'll correct. Let's just stop right there. Most of the people that are pissed off about the AI thing, we have no worries about any of them producing the next Mona Lisa.
I don't think anybody's going to produce the next Mona Lisa.
That's kind of my point, man.
Frank, so you're saying
I'm not looking for the next Frank Frazetta out of the crowd that's upset over AI art. The people that are pissed off about AI art are middling artists that are really, really desperate and scared because they're being marketed out of the small niche market that they've been in. And I would point to them and say, hey, welcome to the 1970s, because if you were a welder or if you had any trade skill on an assembly line, yeah, that's what those people went through. And you tended to support the people that supported that. So it's not going to change. Automation will always continue to move forward. You can choose two things: either adapt and be better, or accept it and deal with the ramifications. Because that's it. It's only going to continue to move on.
Define better.
Change. Make things that are soulful. Make things that resonate.
That's the thing. Like Frank Frazetta, you're not going to get a new Frank Frazetta from the people complaining about AI art, like you said, and you're not going to get a new Frank Frazetta from AI art either.
Correct. And AI art will never, as a person that works in robotics and automation and artificial intelligence, the one thing that artificial intelligence will never be able to successfully do is sequential art. So yes, if you're a pinup artist, be threatened, because AI art is eventually going to be able to outdo you for what people want. But as far as like the people that are making, sequential art, no, have no fear. AI art will never be able to surpass you, because you have the one thing that AI art will never have, which is a soul. And you have an essence, and there's an understanding of human movement, human fluidity. There are certain things to this day that I cannot automate, even with all the modern technology, even with AI assisted vision. I still can't beat an operator to do when I'm talking about automation. So it's not a threat. It's understand your role and be better at your role than what the automation can be. And when it comes to art, sequential art happens to be the number one big exclamation point that you can easily, as an artist, if you know your sequential art and you can handle it, you will always be superior. But if you're phoning it in, it becomes evident very quickly.
Well, with regard to fine art, that's a different argument, and I'm not disagreeing with you on what you're saying right there. I think where I kind of take issue is when you say, oh, if you're using Photoshop, it's the same thing as AI, and that's not the same thing. Photoshop it's
a super.
Jesus, dude.
Hairs, man.
Can I finish my sentence, please? I swear to God, I'm just trying to explain where I think where J-Bot and I are coming from. Okay, art is created by human beings utilizing tools. Okay, whether it's charcoal that you pick up off of a piece of cinder 50,000 years ago, or it's a Wacom tablet that you're using. To sit there and say that, oh, because you're using a computer aided device like a pointer to click and point something, that you're not, it's the same thing as artificial intelligence creating your art. That's just not the same thing. And I'm not sure why, especially if you're someone that works in this industry, that you feel like that's the AI creating the art and not the person behind it.
Is there any difference between somebody using Photoshop to letter a book and somebody physically cutting out the bubbles out of paper and hand lettering them instead of typing it in? Is there a difference?
Because somebody still has to do it.
Okay,
By
there's
your
a
logic,
there.
but that's what I'm saying.
So
by
if
your
I
logic,
was to automate
like-
that process and I was to just type a script in and say put bubbles into a book
Okay.
with an algorithm, with a macro, is that
let me address
now
this.
That's a difference?
Let me address this, because that's not what lettering is, right? Anybody could do that. That's not what a letterer does.
Well, no, everything used to be hand lettered.
Well, yeah, no, I
Hand
understand.
lettered. Somebody
the only
would
reason-
actually sit down and cut out the
Jesus
bubble.
Christ.
And no,
Yes,
I'm
I fucking
explaining
know.
it.
I know how lettering works. I'm a letterer myself. I
Okay.
understand it. So but you're not. Let me finish. Well, let me finish what I'm trying to say, dude, because you're missing the point of what I'm trying to say. Lettering is not about writing letters in a bubble. Okay, lettering is about knowing how to communicate the dialogue via written words in a way that's coherent with sequential art, and features not just writing an E excuse me, not just writing letters in a sequence, but making sure that you're choosing the correct boldness, the correct italicization, and the way that you choose where letters break off. It's not as simple as what you're suggesting. There is an art form to it.
Calligraphy is not an art.
I didn't say that wasn't.
Well, you just did. Because as a letterer, if I'm lettering it physically, that's calligraphy. And if I'm typing it in a bubble that I move around, that's different, because now I've got an AI that's helping me with an algorithm.
Well, you
on
have to
where I
create the
place them.
font that you're using. Most of professional letters create their fonts.
Okay, so so only professional letters that create their fonts are now professional letters. If I use an existing font, that's not.
There's a question here.
Well, that was a question.
What's
if I
the
use
question?
if I use an existing font?
Okay, so
who's putting it down for you? Are you doing the letters, or you just enter it and the computer does it for you?
Well, so if I have a macro,
because
that
there's
macro grabs off of a script and then populates the letters. Are you a letterer?
Are they in the right spots? Because that means that the computer's doing everything for you. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is just, here it is, boom. You're not a letterer. You're not a letterer then.
That's where it's headed, man.
you're a typesetter at that point.
Yeah, then you're a
And no, it's
typesetter.
not where
You're
it's
not a
headed.
letterer.
Yeah, it is.
A
That's where
letterer-
it's headed.
Okay,
I'm
okay,
sorry.
dude.
I
Lettering.
disagree with you on that.
Okay,
Well, the question isn't like which is more valid. The question is, like Aldous is saying, is like, if that's where it's headed, the talk of it being valid is almost, you can look at an AI generated lettered book and be like, fuck the whole thing up. Look how stupid it looks. But that's purely subjective, just like art is anyway.
Well, I think that there's an honest opposition to AI art from artists, and the reason that's what I'm trying to say. Aldous is saying that, well, you're a hypocrite if you're an artist that uses Photoshop, if you have a problem with AI, and that's not true. That doesn't make you a hypocrite because you're
that's
using
an opinion.
technology.
That's not true. It's not an absolute. That's
Okay.
an opinion.
Well, that's your
My
opinion.
opinion. Yeah, it is. It's my opinion that if you're using AI assisted brushes and AI assisted rendering in Photoshop, I think it's highly hypocritical that you're then opposed to AI generated art. And I don't see how that's a big leap.
Then what's the difference from using a brush that was created, let's say a gray tone brush or something that's created in Photoshop, and laying down Zipatone?
Nothing.
It's just a modern way of doing it. So
There's an algorithm.
But what I'm
behind
saying
that.
is
You're
that
not laying down that line. The algorithm is following in line with what you are doing and adjusting to what you believe you want to do.
but you physically have to do it. You physically have to draw that line.
You are directing the line. That's the point.
Well, you
AI
still have
would
to direct an AI.
But the AI is basing it off of the brush type that you pick.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Exactly.
So,
If you're generating
you-
art AI-wise,
you-
you're still
you
telling it
pick.
what to do. So it's still human operated. Like the day you have to worry is when AI can, from out of nowhere, pluck a story and draw it and make it better.
that's the point.
That's the difference is what we're saying, is that you're saying that it's your opinion is that it's the same for me to draw on my tablet than if you were able to go give me a girl by an ocean and the AI draws everything for you and you're like, it's the same thing. That's my argument where I'm like, it's not.
We're 5 to 10 years away from it being. There's no.
Well, I don't think it's
discussion
the
there.
same thing, but whether it's the same thing or not is really not the question. Like the question is it a good thing? Is it are you against it or for it? Like
It
I
becomes
don't
more
really care
realistic.
one
Now,
way or another.
as-
hand lettering is not the same thing as using
now, I'll say this. And I brought this up. And Drew, I get the man. You just subscribe to our show, but I brought this up when we had this discussion in our show on Saturday. I think 3 weeks ago. I bought a copy of the collected versions of Solomon Kane, and I bought it for one explicit reason, is because this came up, and people were talking like this isn't happening. Artificial AI art isn't even a thing right now. We don't have to worry about it. No, it is a thing already. I bought a collected work of Solomon Kane, and the cover was generated by Midjourney, and it's on Amazon. You can buy it today. I have a problem with that now, and that's the thing is I'm always in support of evolution and change, but I will always support, and Odin knows this, J-Bot knows this, I will always support a organically drawn book. I want an artist to draw my book. I want an artist
or
behind
organically
it.
drawn original art as well.
Exactly.
Hail
But
Ray.
Thank you.
When it comes to the grand philosophical debate, no, man, it's gonna happen. It's already there. It's not. You can't change it with legislation. You can't change it with copyright. It's gonna happen. It's always gonna be there, and it's gonna come. And people need to adapt and understand. And
I think the adaptation is like you said. You have to have soul in what you're doing. And if you don't, I mean, in my opinion, that's the reality anyway. I think that's always been the case in my mind.
That's my long-standing point. Is I would completely agree with that. Is that I don't see any issue for if you're a quality artist that's doing really soulful pieces and putting your heart into it and doing really good stuff. You have nothing to worry about. You know who it really has to worry about right now is the furry community that buy in support that shit. They've been making a shit ton of money for years off those degenerates, and you don't need to spend any money anymore, man. You can just type it in and they'll give you exactly what you want, and those are the people that are going to be really suffering.
I feel like what you're saying, all this, and maybe we took it in another weird direction, is like it's coming, be prepared.
Yeah, man.
That's a different argument.
Yeah.
So, and whether or not it's coming is a totally different argument from whether or not it's hypocritical to be upset.
Well, and I think the position, Aldous, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but is more, and I wouldn't even say playing devil's advocate because I know you believe it, but taking a harsh stance in kind of like comparing the two AI, whether it's computer generated in Photoshop or whether it's generated in AI. Generator.
Well,
is to prepare people for the reality that you're like,
right.
Well,
it's actually here.
I'll put it this way: like, welding is kind of the best example for automated, because welding has been automated now for 25 years, and it is. Welding is absolutely an art form. For the M1 Abrams tank, if you are doing the interior weld of the rotator cuff for the turret before the gel pack is inserted, I can tell you that cannot be done by a robot. That has to be done by hand. That has to be done by a skilled hand that knows what the hell they're doing, because it's two different kinds of metals. And if you fuck that weld up, the gel pack does not allow the turret to rotate accurately. So when the company that produces and does that, they have it hand welded, and it takes a 20-year veteran to do that, and that's where art is headed, quote unquote.
Today
art.
I learned. Well, okay, so I guess maybe I'm gonna try one more time to try to convey what I'm trying to see and finding some common ground here. If you go to a restaurant and you order a steak, the filet mignon, however you want to order it, right? Are you a cook at that point or a chef at that point because you've ordered it and it appears, or is the person that makes it the chef?
Is it any less a steak if that
it's not about whether or not it's a steak or not.
I'm sorry. Earlier you asked me to not interrupt you, so I'm going to ask you to not interrupt me.
This is great,
based off the thickness of that steak and the temperature that's known on that surface that I'm cooking it on, if a robot grabs that raw steak out of a freezer or a cooler or a chiller and puts it on the grill and then flips it appropriately based off of an algorithm, is that robot a cook? It did exactly the same process. It did nothing different than what a cook would do. It just based it off an algorithm rather than experience.
The person who ordered it.
No.
I'm
talking about the cook.
All right. Fuck it. I'm done.
The cook. No, that is a good, actual valid distinction, because the chef is the thing in question. Because if you are the one ordering it, do you know that your steak is not getting generated by a robot at that point?
As long as my steak shows up medium rare, I'm happy, right?
But
so
as
long as my art piece shows
his
up,
thing is, are you the cook? It's not whether it shows up. Are you the cook? Are you the cook? If you order it, I guess that's the.
I understand.
That's the point.
No, it's not, because if I talk to you, Drew.
That's my
hey,
point.
Drew,
I'm not talking about your point.
Drew,
it's my point.
Drew,
my point.
Drew
is.
If I order a commissioned piece from you, do I give a shit if it's drawn by a human or by a robot? If I get what I wanted. Bye, Drew.
Fucking Drew.
I think I would give a shit.
I don't think I'm going to get a Christmas card.
I would give a shit. You subscribe to your channel, though.
I think very good discussion, though. It just shows that both
these discussions go to where somebody's, it all kind of goes to a principle thing. Because when you say, I don't care as long as I get my steak medium rare, in my mind, I do actually care. Even though I could enjoy the steak just the same, it still bothers me. And I don't know if it's techno fear or what, but it is like there's something inside me that says, and also it's jobs. I go, I would rather have a human doing that job,
Yeah.
Okay, but when you talk about the jobs aspect,
maybe it's just idealism, but
you're talking about, okay, instead of having 5 people work at a restaurant, say 2 in the cooks and 2 waitresses and a maitre d' for a small shop. Now, instead, you've got no employees, but there's a secondary business that supports that robot every night that has to go in and adjust it, that has to go in and make its preventive maintenance.
I get it, but that's six.
It's
half
dozen the other. Yeah, it depends. The thing is
Plus,
that
there's all the people that made that robot.
But if you're going,
where did that robot come from? It's yes, you are. You're shifting the labor force, and you're shifting the labor force into automation. But look, man, it's not. It's coming. And this
the restaurant owner's happy because they're paying different wages.
Right.
And I get that. I mean, you go to Applebee's or something right now. Your waitress wants you to pay on a little thing that's at the table, Mm-hmm. They don't take your card and go run it and do the whole thing. They're like, no, you pay right here.
You
and
think
have to
it?
tip
Do you
right
think
here."
it?
I'm
I
like,
think it matters with the product that you're trying to get.
your tip goes down a little bit because you're not doing any work.
You know,
But
if I go to a
again, I
five-star
don't have to tip a
restaurant,
robot, so fuck it.
yeah, if I go to a 5-star Michelin whatever, and I want this guy and he's there and he's gonna cook it for me, and it's made by a real chef. I think people going to that and expecting that's what they want.
Well,
So
there's people on
it's not.
principle that will go to human operated
It's
things.
different. So there's a product. There's a product.
And Jay, with
you know
all
what I mean?
due respect, man. With all due respect, absolutely. And I'm not trying to be in here being the dick, but dude, I think if people had any cognizant understanding of how much of the shit that they buy is automated, that this discussion around of AI art would be moot. I don't think people understand how much of their daily life is automated. You know what? You want to go on Amazon and order something that shows up at your doorstep in 2 days? There ain't too many people that are touching that item at the end of the day.
Well, no, and I get that.
That's a robot that's picking.
There's a word in there
robot
called art that is thrown into the discussion, and that's why it's a discussion. Automated things. I mean, there are people who
Logistics
hated
is
automated
art.
things and always have been.
No, logistics is art. Machinery
But
is
if you
art.
say, sure, that's true, but that's not the art I want. You know?
Isn't it?
No, not really.
Really?
So when we're talking about,
I'm guessing that you want to when you show up to a gas station and you want to pump gas in your car, you want gas to come out of the pump. And that, I hate to break it to you, but that's an algorithm that determines when that gas station. That's an artificial intelligence system that's determining when that gas station fills that tank. When does that gas station need to be refilled? It's no different than again, man. If you're a good artist and you can produce sequential art, you have nothing to worry about.
No, and this doesn't come back to what I worry about. More so, you know, like kind of like the car thing. You know, like you get in the model and you're like, that's a beautiful piece of art. That is Shelby Mustang. You know, but the person who originally designed it is still the designer who designed it, and that's always the thing. Is like as long as there's a human mind behind it. But again, like AI art is not at the point where it's designing its own art. You know?
Not yet. It will be there.
Right. When it gets there and it's writing its own story, and people buy it on nostalgia, but you know, we'll have to see how good it is at that point.
Well, and you can go on Facebook right now, and there's multiple advertisements for. Are you a writer? You know, well here's an AI writer that you can just type your plot points in, and it will fill them out, and it's based off of. You know, it's no different than what Lester Dent used. It's no different than what Walter B. Gibson used or any of the pulp writers. They're using the standard template for a quintessential story, and you insert all of your characters and offer all the descriptors. And if you click generate for $9.99, it'll generate you a story. And if you don't think that there's AI generated stories on Amazon right now, man, I don't know what to tell you other than you're wrong.
No, I don't doubt that. Not at all.
Yeah.
But
I'm sorry to drive. I'm sorry if my opinions or my position drove Drew away. I like Drew. Drew's got a great channel, and I highly recommend everybody sub to him.
No, we all like Drew. I think it just got heated, but you know, it's one of those things where I felt like like Dick Cabot or something.
I think with Drew's argument and his point and kind of what my point was making, they're like, okay, sure, it's they plug their stuff in, and is that guy a writer? I mean, is he truly a writer? And don't answer a question with a question. Do you think you sitting down and writing stuff, all this, and writing what you work on, you think that's the same level as you're that guy? You think that you guys are the same?
Hey man, I'll say this: if an AI can reproduce what I write, then yes, I am not a writer.
There you go.
But you see, I see what you're saying. The quality's not there. You still need that.
Right, man.
That
and
human
I guess
interaction.
that's where I have.
But hey,
I have faith in my art, I have faith that I can write better than an AI. So I really don't understand the clarion call from artists of like, this is a threat, because look at what it produces. It all looks the same. It has the same texture. It has the same tone.
But there'll come a time when it might not. Like
oh yeah, it's quickly approaching.
that's the whole thing. That's
And that's where I would.
end
If
result
I was,
is yeah.
yeah, if
But
I was an artist, I would
now
be doing
would you
sequentials.
do you have a would you as a writer would have a problem that people would lump you in with the same guy that uses the AI to write his stories, even though you don't believe that's the same thing? People don't know any
No.
better, and now they're like,
I'm already lumped in with people that produce shit. So
Well, fair enough. Anyway, I need to go to bed, gentlemen.
yeah, same here, man.
Early
Well,
morning we'll be
6:30.
calling here soon.
well, I again, J-Bot, I apologize. I did not mean to drive Drew off. And if Drew is still listening, no hostility at all, man. I understand that it's a hot issue and people have massive disagreement, but you're always welcome on any show I'm on, man. Always.
Oh yeah, no, it's the discussion got heated because people give a shit. That's all.
Well, and that's the, I guess, part of the end line is that, like, as long as people give a shit, there'll be room for human artists. But once people quit giving, because people will quit giving a shit.
Yeah.
And that's the
You have the normies that'll be like, "This is great," and then you have like, "That's
whether
not real art. This
problem
shit
or
was made
not.
by a human."
Things
just
change, things evolve, and like Aldous said, you can't do anything about it. Like
Yeah,
if we have the ability, technology wise, we'll do it. It's just that's humans. That's how we are.
I think it'll go for the same thing. I think like anything, art's gonna go the same way as even like most media. If you're looking at it now.
But there's always a big change. Like, there was years ago, the world was worried about horse shit. And they're like, we're all horseback, everything's horse carriage, everybody's riding horseback, and we're gonna be up to our ears in horse manure. And then the automobile happened, and then nobody worried about horse manure anymore.
Yeah. I mean, is a change coming? Sure, but I think you're still going to have that. I mean, just look at even like the gaming industry now. 5 years ago, everybody's like, yeah, let's download shit. Yeah, oh, it's so convenient. It's whatever.
J-Bot, I love your swear skunk, by the way.
Oh.
It's Stinkor.
So before
right?
I take off,
From
I want to
He-Man?
see it.
I have no idea. I just, it's like, I'm going to do a
Stankor?
Ninja Turtle, but not a turtle.
Stank whore. No.
Stinkor. He was the
was a skunk
skunk
guy?
He-Man guy.
Yeah.
Man, that must have been after I checked out or something, but I don't remember. Skunk.
I think you have stuff changed, but then just like the as they say, the cream of the crop rises to the top. You have a big issue with like people downloading games and everybody's like, cool. But now it's like, there's an issue with certain games. You can't get them. You can't play them unless you have them physical. And so that's a big problem right now too. And if you can emulate, sure, you can emulate. And the people that want to emulate are going to emulate. But the people that know better, are going to be
kind
like,
of ignoring your
man,
chat here. But you got Ray Haylock and you got Mo.
Mo came back.
It's a good point. Once they unleash the Terminators, nobody will care about AI art. Oh, we'll be living AI art at that.
We will be. We'll be living AI.
Yeah, they're like, let me make.
When
some
they wear
art
our skin as suits and shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna make some art out of you right now.
Yeah, Ray says few potential marketing contracts with the AI automation. Yeah, it's real. Yeah, it's coming.
Oh yeah, for sure. Everywhere.
Hail Mo, hail Eric. But it's like anything. It is an evolution of. Is it a good tool? Like I was listening to Rini and she was talking about possibility. Let's say if you could plug in like how you want the thing to do your roughs, and they could do your roughs on your outlines on your page, and you come in and do all your details and stuff, and to help your pages go faster. I mean, that might be a neat tool.
Yeah.
Well, I think moving forward, what you're going to see is, I think you're going to see a lot of people falling in lockstep with the anti-AI art as they use it behind the scenes.
I mean, we kind of already thinking about. I mean, we kind of already are if you think about it with all the pose generators and stuff like that.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
no, I see people use that stuff. I mean, to me, I'm just old school, but I'm like, oh man, that's cheating.
Yeah, no, there's just a difference between like if I would look at it and so I can get my angle right and then I physically draw it. But
Yep.
then you'll have let me screenshot it, put it in Procreate, and I'm just gonna trace my
Oh,
over
shit.
it. You know what I mean? It's like, ugh, I think you're shooting yourself in the foot because you're gonna be dependent on it.
No, and that's when I say if you want to be, if you want to fight this, it's avoid everything and just continue to level up. It's continue to focus on your art, continue to work at it, and don't use any of these modern crutches, and you'll stand out because you'll be the one that's doing things that the AI isn't doing. Because those people that become reliant upon it will become reliant upon it, and there's only so much. And whether it's welding, whether it's vision, whether it's it doesn't matter. There's only so far, and we are so ridiculously far into the artificial intelligence that a lot of people don't understand it. And it's scary. I get that too, but it's no more scary than when automation first started coming out in any way, shape, or form. Just be the best that you can be, and you don't have anything to worry about. And if you're not the best that you can be, find something else that you can be the best that you can be at.
That's good. Yeah. So before I go to bed, J-Bot, let me see a big screen of yours. Just
Sure.
share this stuff, and then
Okay.
then I got to bust out. But I want to see.
Got messing around with the playing with these markers.
Yeah, dig it.
Let's see, this one might be better. There we go. Here's a better layout. There he is.
Stank whore.
I was thinking more like Samurai Skunk, but okay.
Stank whore just has a ring to it.
I didn't want to give him, I didn't want to give him swords, so I gave him the sticks. Stank whore. Stank
Why don't you just call him Pepe?
Pepe. But yeah, it was fun, guys. Granted, even though we were yelling and getting all goofy,
Again, man, I apologize if I drove
See if
Drew
I can-
off and upset him.
I'll share this one if you big.
I bear no ill will. Love Drew.
Now we know. Now the battle lines are drawn now. He'd be like,
We'll
"What
get
now?
along,
AI?" He'd be like,
comics,
"Shit, Drew's here.
movies."
Don't bring up AI art." Oh, that's cool. She's like, "Oh my god." He's like, she's about to get a
she's
face
like-
full of monkey nuts.
Staring up at his nuts. Werilla or Horilla.
Yeah, Mo says AI art is just the tip of the iceberg. Your boy Zach has already experienced the power of deep fakes. Yeah, I didn't know anything about that.
Oh yeah, well the deep fakes actually scares me more than, which I mean it's similar stuff, but like as long as we can detect somehow reality from fantasy.
Yeah, AI, that guy's doing something different. Copy what that guy is doing.
Well, you'll never get an AI that can accurately replicate like a Sam Keith, for
Yeah,
example.
or Bisley or something.
Bisley, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's when I say, like, have your own style, man. Do your own thing.
Yeah.
Figure out where you fit in, and rock that. And if you are rote and mainstream, you will be obliterated. Absolutely.
For sure.
No different than if you are anything else. If you have been anything else over the last 50 years.
Well, and I think being rote and mainstream, I mean, really should be obliterated. I mean, you're dime a dozen if you are. So
Yep, absolutely, man.
never really mattered anyway.
The things that we remember are the things that are different. The Mona Lisa was brought up. Well, the Mona Lisa was different comparatively to what was being painted at the time.
For sure.
And who else do we remember? Picasso. Well, Picasso was different at the time. Jodorowsky was different at the time.
Yeah.
All of the quote unquote greats that are held up by modern art.
Dali.
Yeah, we're doing something different than what was done everywhere, and those are things that modern art, any AI will not be able to replicate because they're not in the frame of reference. So,
Yeah.
Great artists will still continue. Absolutely.
Heck yeah.
It's no threat. It's a threat to the middling. It's a threat to the low tier. It's a threat to those that don't expound upon their craft.
Much agreed.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's whether or not it is going to be seen as art, but it will be seen as art. And what are you going to do about it?
Dude, you get guys duct taping bananas on walls and making 250,000, and you're worried about AI art.
Yeah, seriously.
yeah,
like-
modern art was a bigger.
I'm not saying priorities, but priorities, bitches.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, I'm out.
I'm going to end the stream, guys.
It was
Thank
fun.
you guys for tuning in and
Hey, man, appreciate the
Hockey and
always good
Mo,
to hang
and
out
thanks
with
for
you,
Hockey
Aldous.
to coming in and all this.
Great
Thanks
to
for
see
coming in.
hockey, man.
Yeah, still
Yeah.
going. We're about to
Yeah.
wrap it up. Thanks for coming by, all this, man. It was a
we
great
did continue
conversation.
without you, Hockey.
Yeah, the world does stop when you leave, man. Or
just picked
the
up
world
when you
keeps
came
going
back.
when you leave. The world doesn't stop. But I hope everybody has a good night, and I'll be doing it next Wednesday. We'll do it again, same bat time, same bat channel.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Ray. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Mo. Thanks, Latard09. Thanks, Ray. Let's see who else. Thanks, Mrs. H. Probably tuned in. She's like, these guys are crazy. I'm leaving.
Oh, yeah, Mrs. H. I forgot about her.
But I hope you all have a good night, and I'll see you all next time.